All right. All right. There we go. Now we're fixed again. I was worried. All right. I think we can hear ourselves. I think all's well. I think there's audio going out. I think it's all working just fine. Hi, chat room. Good to see you. Welcome to the show. How are you this afternoon, this day, after the day, whenever you guys are watching this? If you're watching it right now, fantastic. Happy to see you here. Super excited. Lots to cover today, but not the least of which is welcoming everybody to the show. Hi, chat room. Love you guys, and it makes me smile when you're here, and I see you. I see the folks lining up as the show's starting to roll. I often felt a little weird about the pre-roll. Like I often, back and forth at the beginning of the show, because everybody uses one in the streaming world, it seems. But I was like, that's a little making everybody wait. And then there were a couple of times where I was fixing stuff behind the scenes, and I was like, boy, do I feel lucky that I've got something going on here in the foreground while I crawl under my desk and throw some some switches on and off. So Magoo, and the regular crowd shuffles in. That's right. That's right. Play us a song, you politic man. Play us a song tonight. So yes, it's but it's nice to see you guys, gathering, and it also gives everybody, a little bit of a moment to settle in and get kind of strap in and attach some stuff to your thing and to, I don't know, stitch yourself into your couch so you don't go, like the old Bill Hicks bit about, okay, I'm strapped in here down and now hit me. Well, it's a good thing I'm strapped in right now. All right. So I do. And you've got us feeling all right. Oh, la, 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 diddy, da. I mean, at some point, write some lyrics. La, 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 diddy, da. Might as well just sing Watermelon Cantaloupe at a certain point. Erg. Anyways, hi. Thanks for being here. This is HAL Sparks Mega Worldwide. Smash the like. Do that thing. Doink. And super chat to help us buy 666 Fifth Avenue. Support the show by being a Patreon supporter. Patreon.com/HalSparks. I mean, come on. Cup of coffee a month, maybe, or two. Maybe at the level of cup of coffee a week. Help the show out and make sure we continue to exist. And by we, I mean poor little me. And so that I can keep paying the two people who actually can afford to pay on the show. Which would be lovely, while I spend the rest of it on gear and agua. So anyways, check my graphics, check your graphics. Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry, did I have the morning one on? That's because I'm like, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Turn that off. And then turn this on. I haven't had a chance to build a dual setup, morning show, afternoon show, so I have to remember to flip all the switches. Sorry. Yes, that's right, CSL. Exactly. You and Johnny. That's it. That's all of us. That's the we here. So, yeah. And Chip. That's true. I have to make sure that I have enough cat food in the house so that Chip doesn't feel like he's dying if I go 10 minutes over on the show. Too late. Okay, let's get into this. Lots of stuff to cover today. Now, the big news. Lab leak conspiracy. If you said the COVID came from a lab leak back in the day in the dizzy, you could be kicked off of Twitter and blah, blah. If you even dared to ask a question about the lab leak conspiracy, then you would be kicked off Twitter. And now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Hal, no one ever got kicked off of any social media platform for asking questions about the possibility of a lab leak. The people that got kicked off were the people who asserted that they knew it was a lab leak and that it was on purpose. I know. Those are wholly different things, and I would agree. But that seems to be lost on the puffed out cokeheads among us. I don't know if this looks like, I don't know, carbs and crying. What causes this kind of facial puffiness? I'm not familiar with with drugs and liquor and or their combinations anywhere. So it's I couldn't do a medical assessment. I would just check myself straight into a morgue. See, like this business, I don't know what this, maybe he just had a facial. You know what? I'm going to go with that. Maybe he had a job to do. He got a little sunburn and then he went and had a facial and it puffs you up a little bit afterwards. Don't ask me how I know that. I'm just saying the key to keeping your youth as a man is do all the things the ladies do except makeup. That'll do it. Do everything just in general, fellas. I'm telling you, do everything the ladies do except makeup. If you want to do makeup, knock yourself out. But they know what they're talking about. They're moisturizing. They're doing all kinds of stuff. Not Botox. No. Not all this. You're right. Not all this stuff. I would say that's not strictly a female thing. If you look at like Eric Bowling and some of those folks, a lot of people, Botox is an equal opportunity offender. As a comedian, it makes no sense to me. As a comedian using Botox, or even as an actor or comedian doing Botox, seemed to me to be a gymnast using paralytics in their joints. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Yeah. You think this is renal failure? I don't know. I'll leave it to you. But let's find out. Here's guys. Oh, wow, guys. The conspiracy theorists were right again. COVID came from a lab. ! Kabadoo-badoo. Now, before we begin, knowing, I have not pre-watched this, but knowing where this guy thinks he got his information from, do you think the phrase low confidence will come up other than if he just happens to sort of break into his sexual prowess with Kimberly? I doubt it. Let's find out. Here we go. Yeah. Oh, and then there's an ad. Mustang parts from Lisa.
Yo, Pops. What's up, buddy? What are we doing?
Oh, my God. You got parts.
Who could have seen it coming, folks?
Guys, beginning of my video, guys. Who could have seen it that he would start?
Who could have seen it coming, folks? Who could have seen it coming? The Energy Department.
The Energy Department. The Department of Energy, not the CDC, not the National Institute for Health, not the World Health Organization, not the CDC of any other country. The Department of Energy. Please continue.
Of the United States just concluded that the COVID pandemic most likely arose from a lab leak.
Okay, he's drunk. This is what is this? Gin, bourbon, mixing the two. I don't know what the combinations or the bad combinations are. You guys will have to fill me in. But as far as I recall from high school, people jibber jabbering, it was beer before wine, doing just fine. Wine before beer, nothing to fear. Was that how it was? Either way, they always seem, yeah, he looks really wiped out. I don't know what this is. Again, Energy Department.
Shocked. I'm shocked.
I'm shocked that my dad was president, and all the time he was president, he never came. All right.
This is according to classified intelligence reports.
Classified intelligence reports. Classified. No. By the way, Don Jr., just so you know, is not informing us all of classified material that we do not have access to. He is not, this isn't something he discovered rifling through files in his dad's desk while looking for blow money.
Okay?
Okay.
Literally anyone with a brain has been saying this for 3 years, and it wasn't even close. It was always the most plausible answer.
I gotta say, this is amazing. I seriously, is this heat stroke? Heat stroke and gin. I'm going with heat stroke and gin.
Right, but that didn't work for the leftist media globalist narratives.
It didn't. It did. It just didn't work for their narrative. So the leftist globalist media apparently waited until someone besides your dad was president to go, yeah, most likely it was that, but we don't have a lot of confidence because we can't really tell, but that's what we think.
So they canceled anyone who suggested the obvious.
No, they did not. No, they can't, and they didn't even cancel them. Some people got kicked off of Twitter for asserting that they knew in a bigoted way that China attacked us with a weapon on purpose,
okay?
With no information.
It was always the biggest thing. Remember the headlines? It
was always the biggest thing.
Anthony Fauci just crushed Donald Trump's theory on the origins of the COVID vaccine. Remember the press release? Remember?
Yes, the press release. Which one?
The press conferences where Trump was saying, yeah, this happened. Of course.
Is that what he was saying? Is that what, hold on. I just need to check. It's okay. Let's see. Let's see.
Are there words about a pandemic at this point?
No, we're not at all, and we have it totally under control.
We think we have it very well under control. We pretty much shut it down. A lot of people think that goes away in April with the heat.
We're in very good shape.
I think it's going to work out fine.
Very well under control in our country. I think that's a problem that's going to go away. Because of all we've done, the risk to the American people remains very low. I mean, view this the same as the flu.
It's going to disappear. One day, it's like a miracle. It will disappear.
We are working on cures, and we're getting some very good results.
We only have 15 people, and they're getting better.
Now the Democrats are politicizing the coronavirus. And this is their new hoax.
If you're healthy, probably go through a process, and you'll be fine.
You take a solid flu vaccine, you don't think that would have an impact or much of an impact on corona?
No.
Some of them go to work, but they get better.
It'll go away. We're doing very well, and we've done a fantastic job.
It will go away. Just stay calm.
We have seen dramatically fewer cases of the virus in the United States than are now present in Europe. It's going to go away. 1.4
By the way, in case you didn't see that, that was in March of 2020.
million tests on board next week, and 5 million within a month. I doubt we'll need anywhere near that. It's something that we have tremendous control of. I think we're going to win faster than people think, I hope. Parts of our country are very lightly affected. You're going to lose a number of people to the flu, but you're going to lose more people by putting a country into a massive recession or depression. They have to go back to work. I think it's going to happen pretty quickly. 2.2 million deaths. If we could hold that down, as we're saying, to 100,000, it's a horrible number. We all together have done a very good job. It will go away. You know it is going away.
We think the death will be at a very low number.
It's going to go away, hopefully at the end of the month, and if not, it hopefully will be soon after that.
Are the words about a pandemic?
That was the whole, yes, just it was, finally someone was, telling us the truth.
Of course, Trump was right again.
He was right again. It went away when the sun fell on it, and it was all you needed was a light bulb up your ass and to guzzle some bleach, and all you needed was some fucking horse dewormer in your pee hole.
Okay.
Right again, and also...
Yeah.
And so were the conspiracy theorists who seem to be batting 1,000 to me.
Yeah, but that's because you're a moron and a lunatic and high as a fucking kite.
Remember?
By the way, is high and drunk same thing? It's always been a linguistic fight. I always associated being high specifically with pot. The association being that's the line. Somebody's getting high there. I mean, you could be high on dope, and the idea that people are high on crack, that never seemed, people do it on crack, but high I wouldn't associate. But some people would associate the phrase high with drunk, and I always thought that was odd. I don't agree with that. I think, not that you're getting low, just saying.
So Anthony Fauci, who was presumably funding gain of function research at the
Presumed by who?
Wuhan lab.
He was until the Obama administration stopped him, and then he was, I guess, again, or other people were. He wasn't directly involved, but after your dad restarted it a year into his presidency.
Seemingly lied to Congress about it. Now both the FBI and the Department of Energy have come to the conclusion that the coronavirus originated from the Wuhan lab.
From a Wuhan lab.
Yeah, like as a leak, by the way. And this is where they're getting it from. Can we jump into this? Because we're going to see a couple of these things. Okay. Washington. New intelligence has prompted the Energy Department, which is a very curious organization, to announce something along these lines. That an accidental laboratory leak in China most likely caused the coronavirus pandemic. Though U.S. spy agencies remain divided over the origins of the virus, American officials said on Sunday. The conclusion was a change from the department's earlier position that it was undecided on how the virus emerged. Some officials briefed on the intelligence said it was relatively weak and that the Energy Department's conclusion was made with, quote, low confidence. Kind of like the feeling that Junior gets every time he has to pee or step out of the shower in front of a mirror, suggesting its level of certainty was not high. While the department shared the information with other agencies, none of them changed their conclusions. So the Department of Energy stumbled on some new intelligence that gave them low confidence about the lab leak theory. They shared that intelligence, and the other intelligence agencies went, yeah, we saw that. That's not conclusive. We can't, yeah, low confidence. I'd call it low confidence. Officials would not disclose what the intelligence was, but many of the Energy Department's insights come from its network of national laboratories, some of which conduct biological research, rather than more traditional forms of intelligence like spy networks or communications intercepts. Intelligence officials believe the scrutiny of the pandemic's beginnings could be important to improving global response to future health crises, though they caution that finding an answer about the source of the virus may be difficult or even impossible, given Chinese opposition to further research. Which, by the way, is the Chinese attacks on people their own doctors, trying to inform the world that it was coming, is reason enough to believe that it originated there. The question is, did it show, and again, it isn't so much the idea that it came from a lab or that it leaked from a lab that is the big deal. That's not surprising or a shocking part of the accusation at all. As a matter of fact, my personal belief, having been in China a bunch, is that the low level of security at the Wuhan lab and the how underpaid so many people who work in a very highly dangerous and classified circumstance would lead them to try to make money on the side. There's a shit ton of that there. It's everywhere. It's rampant. And there's a big wet market where a lot of the animals that they bring up to test at the Wuhan lab and at other labs like it, they'll test these animals from different areas of the country to see if there's a chance of, a virus jumping from animal to human. And in a sterile environment, you should be able to check and then dispose of the animals in a way that it won't pass. But very strong chance somebody in that lab went, why are we throwing out these animals? They're good eating, and took them to the market and sold them. And they themselves carried it, or the animals were sold in an open market and it spread because people were there. Like, as far as the infection point where it grew from, both of those make total sense. It's not a nefarious thing. It's more about lazy security, which is, by the way, why the United States was paying money to make sure the Wuhan lab was secured. When Donald Trump took over, he allowed them to continue gain-of-function research, as we've seen from that Australian documentary, but cut the security funding. Let me say that again. Donald Trump allowed gain-of-function research to resume at the Wuhan lab, at the Wuhan Institute, and cut the security funding that we, both ourselves and through the WHO, were paying to make sure that the Wuhan lab was safe and secure. Can you see how that might lead to this? Right. Okay. So, again, low confidence, Department of Energy, they shared that with other intelligence groups, and they were like, yeah, that doesn't change our mind at all. It's not definitive enough where it's going to shift shit. It just isn't.
Does anything happen to these people?
To the people at the Department of Energy, or the people at the Wuhan lab, or the people who are like, I know what you're saying with the lab leak thing. We have no way of knowing specifically whether it was a natural adjunct because somebody took the animals and sold them, or bought a same batch of animals at the same time, were illegally poached, sold at that wet market because they're transporting there. So the dude that's the other aspect of this. It's a possibility, very strong possibility for anybody who's been to China, is that somebody gathers animals from a wild area that, where they're checking for disease, much like this, bats in particular, brings some of them up, gives some of them to the lab, some of them they sell at the wet market. There's either a crisscross of the inspection or what have you. The animals in the lab had it, or the animals there had it, or both, or neither, or whatever. So that, in general, again, is the kind of stuff that they were talking about at the time and going, yeah, that we don't, and certainly that it wasn't made there through gain of function, which I think is largely what everybody was pushing back on, or that it was an intentional infection by the Chinese, which is a whole other thing.
They lied to you. They pitched.
They did not lie. They did not lie. Again, lying would be, we discovered a cable that says, haha, we the Chinese leaked this, and we were able to keep it a deep, dark secret. And the CIA and everybody else and the DNI and all that saw it and went, oh shit, look, they admit to it and it's real. That would be, and then you find out that they hadn't seen it up to that point, but Fauci, it was one of Fauci's emails. We've seen Fauci's emails. No such thing exists. It's just dumb.
The narrative. Trump was right again.
He was right again. I'm fucking, guys. I'm fucking
hammered right now.
The media, right? Remember, CNN Politics. Anthony Fauci just crushed Donald Trump's theory on the origins of COVID.
Let's see. Is there a CNN? Let's look at that. Let's see. CNN. Fauci, crushes Trump origin of COVID. That's this one. For weeks now, Yeah. This is the one he's referring to. This is Chris Cillizza's thing. Anthony Fauci just crushed Donald Trump's theory on the origins of the coronavirus. For weeks now, Trump has been making the case that the coronavirus originated not in nature, but a lab in China. He said late last week that he had a high degree of confidence that that was what happened, although he didn't specify why he felt that way. And on Sunday night in Fox Town Hall, he offered cryptically, something happened. Enter Fauci, the head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, where an interview with National Geographic posted on Monday. Fauci was definitive about the origins of the virus, which has sickened more than 1 million people. If you look at the evolution of the virus in bats and what's out there now, the scientific evidence is very, very strongly leaning towards this could not have been artificially or deliberately manipulated. Now, this is the key part of this. And this is why the whole conversation was wonky for a couple of years, was because the idea that if it came from the lab, it was made in the lab or augmented or shifted in the lab. And therefore, because it leaked from a lab, it's because the lab created it. Instead of the lab had these animals, they had a naturally occurring virus in them, and then it got out from there. That's the distinguishment. This headline is more about Chris Cillizza being dumb than about the actual conversation. Everything about the stepwise evolution over time strongly indicates that this virus evolved in nature and then jumped species. Now, before we play this, he said, remember this, only one of these two people is a world-renowned infectious disease expert, and it's not Donald Trump. In short, Fauci's view on the origins of the disease matters a whole lot more than Trump's opinion about where it comes from, especially because outside of Trump and his immediate inner circle, most people in position are very, very skeptical of the origin of the virus came out of a lab. And again, this is a distinction with a huge difference. And by the way, here goes, whether accidentally or on purpose. And again, this is also part of the conversation that everyone was having. And part of the fight between the people who are pushing back against the lab leak idea or the people who are proponents of the lab leak is because of the underlying, what those mean to different people. Because leaking from a lab means created in a lab to most people, whereas leaking from the animals they had at the lab, because everybody, basically people think of it as like 28 days later. Remember the apes in 28 days later that were infected with rage, and that's what spread because they took healthy animals and they turned them into monsters in this, and that's how that lab leak happened because environmentalists or animal activists broke them out. It's a similar. People are talking at cross purposes. This is the same problem I have when dumb people make smart people movies. The Writing in Limitless, I will always source. So this is the thing. Like the intelligence community, which in a statement, official officer at DNI said the intelligence community also concurs with the wide scientific consensus that COVID-19 virus was not man-made or genetically modified. Now, that's important to the distinction. Because what these guys mean and what Trump meant is they were making this into a highly potent bioweapon, and it snuck out before it was done cooking. 12 Monkeys, another great example. Right. Andromeda Strain. All the fiction where people oversimplify what this would require. So, guys, and it leaked from a lab. My dad said so, and then he said it was no big deal, and it would blow away, and the sun would get rid of it, even though it leaked from a lab, right.
I mean, they literally all went to bat for this clown. It was always obvious. Everyone knew.
I don't know, dude, get some sleep. Is there a rule he has to crank these out before he can take a nap? You're not allowed to nap until and sleep off whatever the fuck this is until you've done this stupid video. Why is he upset? I don't know. I'll tell you why. It's stupid. It's amazingly stupid. Because again, his father was president when this shit all went down. So the idea that they lied to you and they manipulated and they controlled you. His father was president of the United States and was apparently aware and right the whole time and still locked down the country, thought it was nothing, blew it off, and then thought it could restart things again, and then kept doing his trade deal with China and then sold them all of our pork, beef, corn, and soybeans while Americans were in food lines in June and July of 2020.
Remember this Fox News clip?
And my question is, have you seen anything at this point that gives you a high degree of confidence that the Wuhan Institute of Virology was the origin of this virus?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. And I think that the World Health Organization should be ashamed of themselves because they're like the public relations agency for China. And this country pays them almost $500 million a year.
And all we have to show for it is all the other pandemics that didn't take off and wreck the entire global economy and kill millions of people while sensible people were president of the United States, some of which I disagreed with politically, but clearly at least took this part seriously instead of going, it's nothing, it'll go away, stand down, Proud Boys, stand back and stand by, CDC, sit down.
China pays them $38 million a year, and
they get way more money on their return.
Whether it's a lot or more, it doesn't matter. It's still, they shouldn't be making excuses when people make horrible mistakes, especially mistakes that are causing hundreds of thousands of people around the world to die.
Oh, of course Trump was right again.
Okay. At that point, the whole purpose of that conversation was him ultimately blaming China for the damage done. Let's see. Meanwhile, Trump was not relying. Let's see. Let me hold on one second. Let me make it more specific in what I'm asking for. Let's see.
We've been in very close contact with China, including myself with President Xi. He very much wanted this to happen. He wanted this to get out and finished and be done. He's been working very, very hard, I can tell you that. And they're making a lot of progress in China. You probably saw Starbucks are now opened again. You probably saw that, as I mentioned, Tim just came out and he said Apple is back to normal in terms of production and their facilities in China. They've made a lot of progress.
And by the way, that's a clip airing on Xinhua News on the state media of China. They played that shit on a loop. How about this one? Hold on. Let's just grab a couple of these.
President Xi is working very hard. As you know, I spoke with him recently. He's working really hard.
By the way, reminder. Hold on. Let's share. Let me run this back by you again. What does this asshole say about the WHO?
Because they're like
this virus.
Yes.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. And I think that the World Health Organization should be ashamed of themselves because they're like the public relations agency for China.
Yeah? Are they now?
Xi is working very hard. As you know, I spoke with him recently. He's working really hard. It's a tough problem. I think he's going to do... Look, I've seen them build hospitals in a short period of time. I really believe he wants to get that done, and he wants to get it done fast. Yes, I think he's doing it very professionally. We're also working with him and helping him as of the last few days, as you know.
Some people don't seem to trust the data coming out of China. Are you worried about that?
Look, I know this. President Xi loves the people of China. He loves his country. And he's doing a very good job with a very, very tough situation.
Okay. Did you hear at any point, this is so aggravating. Did you hear any point where he said, I've been talking to the World Health Organization and they assure me that China is handling this and that she is doing the right thing. The people of the world, he didn't even do a diversion where he was like, saying that, I don't trust Xi and China's numbers. I'm listening to the WHO. And if they tell me that it's all right, I trust them. No. This asshole bypassed what the World Health Organization was saying entirely. The entire beginning of COVID, pre-lockdown and all this shit. And then as soon as the shit hit the fan, and it ended up being worse than he was saying it was for fucking months, what happens? Does he take responsibility? Does he say, it's my fault? I believed Xi Jinping. I spoke to him personally, and he assured me of these things, and I was led astray, and it won't happen again. And, did he take responsibility? No. He diverted to the World Health Organization, an organization that he himself did not rely on for his decision-making. He didn't even rely. He's not even saying in that situation, in any of those situations, Dr. Fauci clearly told me that Xi Jinping and the Chinese are doing everything right. He specifically said, I talked to Xi. Xi loves his country, and he's going to take care of this, and I believe them. So, I mean, it's fucking goofy.
Obvious answer. Okay?
I'm so miserable and puffy.
But you're never going to hear that because it didn't benefit the leftists. Does
The leftists.
anyone pay for this? Okay?
You mean your dad? I mean, he was fish stinks from the head. Your dad was fucking president. Your dad was the one who told us that Xi Jinping was doing everything right. It wasn't the World Health Organization. Right?
Anyone get in trouble for lying?
No, your dad is not going to owe the country $20 trillion, which he doesn't have.
This way? People like Anthony Fauci profited probably from this for years.
Probably. Yes, that's why he got a government job. He profited from a disease that came along right at his retirement. That's what he did. He was going to retire on the money that he made creating a deadly virus. This is the gamble. Let's think through the logic on this, because this is fucking amazing. So Anthony Fauci, who's nearing 80 years old and has been fighting infectious disease his entire life and was on the forefront of fighting AIDS and all these things, has presumably a family with offspring. And so his gambit is he's going to make a shit ton of money helping shepherd a contagious disease across the entire fucking globe, where not just like laser pointing it on an area, but letting it just drift across the globe that could kill him or any member of his family before there's a vaccine for it. Like he didn't go, oh, by the way, look who's aha, there was no point. I'm Anthony Fauci, I would like to say that here's the antidote to the giant snake venom I just released on the earth. So the idea from this fuckhead that we're supposed to buy into is that Anthony Fauci participated in a global pandemic, the creation and function of a bioweapon on purpose, or was so inept in all of his decades, and then decided to hide his ineptness rather than answer to it and save everyone's life, because I guess he could have in this theory as well. And he's just going to let it roll through the world and possibly kill family members, friends, whoever, because he can make a little extra scratch that he's going to spend in his 80s. This again goes to the whole, Joe Biden is owned by China or what have you, and he would sacrifice Hunter as his bag man. Remember that shit? So the idea is that Joe Biden has been accumulating all this wealth that he has not spent so far, so that he can spend it in his prime when he retires at 84.
They were protecting their Chinese overlords.
Were they?
And the result was harm to American people, our businesses, our economies, our lives, our children, their education, their health, their well-being.
Okay. This is how lost and garbage-headed he is. If you'll notice, his argument there was not about the cost was a disease that rippled across the world that killed millions and continues to kill and will for a long time, and we had to respond to it so heavily. But the idea that because they hid that it came from a lab, this is his premise, the theory that they hid that it came from a lab internally, they were doing this so that they could participate in shutting down the whole country on purpose, so that they could open it again because it was really harmless and it was never going to be a problem in the first place. But they also wanted to, I guess, trick people into getting a vaccine that would kill them eventually, because they want to depopulate the earth, but they can only do that through an injectable serum rather than, I suppose, a super virus they create themselves, which would seem to be I mean, if you're going to be efficient, follow me on this. If you're going to do evil right, it would seem to follow on this. Create a virus that you have the antidote to, a venom that you have the antidote to, or a virus that you have the cure for. Only give it to your friends or select people, and then just let the rest of humanity be wiped out. That would seem to be, Occam's razor would say that would be the plan. But Occam's rubber mallet from these dipshits is that the idea is that the big evil, whoever, big pharma, big tech, big media, and big Illuminati all got together and decided, let's see, bombs, no. Poisoning rivers and streams, no. Cancer clusters, no. All these things that have provably wiped out large groups of people. No, how about this? How about we individually murder everyone? We have to get a needle in their arm, the equivalent of stabbing 8 billion people to death, because that's efficiency.
And what's going to happen?
Your dad is going to live through the fact that, and your family will carry forever that your father was president when this shit all went down.
Probably nothing.
Well, that's only because everything you bitch about involves a spattering of reality that contradicts what you're talking about, and therefore you're screaming into the wind.
Okay? Remember this, folks. The people in the media are evil.
Just write that down. Yeah, the people in the media are evil. The people. Camera guys, whoever's holding the cue cards, when the guy who spins the teleprompter, who sits there, turns the little dial or puts his foot on the pedal, whatever, the guy who mics them, evil. The person who cleans the desk, the janitorial service at MSNBC, devil, impolite and evil. Yeah.
The bureaucrats are evil. The
bureaucrats are evil, meaning the people who do the normal functions of government.
Hate your guts, and
the bureaucrats hate your guts. That's why they show up at work every day and make sure that planes don't crash at the FAA. They do it because they hate your guts, and you don't want to visit your family, and they make you because those goddamn planes are on time most of the time.
All they want is power and money.
Well, how do you get a lot of power and money if everybody's dead? It is a flaw, I see, in the whole system. Don't you think?
Don't ever forget it.
Don't forget it. High degree. That was the end of it. Don't ever forget it. Now I got to go soak my face in ice water because Jesus. I mean, there's the puffiness right around here. That's concerning. I'm going to go. It's got to be booze and sun damage. It's got to be. We'll settle on it. Don't forget it. You're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. They post it. I just go through it. By the way, shall we, since we saw what he said, shall we jump to what the old man says? All right. So this is not about COVID, I don't think. But he's starting to I think he's starting to smoke his own supply. Agenda 47, which is his little, his cute little phrase for it. President Trump announces America First trade platform that takes sledgehammer to globalism. Okay, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but COVID itself took a, quote, sledgehammer to globalism, that global markets are being reshuffled like fucking crazy. And America in particular is reshoring factories like a motherfucker. And between Canada and Mexico are pretty much going to be isolated as in regards to supply chains of useful anything. We'll buy trinkety shit from all over the world, but basically, our relationship from a trade point of view with China is dead. Anybody who hasn't moved out is on their way, and nobody is thinking, I know, I started this thing, I need a cheap factory to build my shit in. How about China? Nobody. Meanwhile, also code word for Jews. But this is, I don't know how long this is, but this is one of his, like, I'm going to take a sledgehammer to globalism, a problem that will largely be wrapped up and in form, not Peter Gabriel, what? Who do what? Hold on, are people saying Peter Gabriel is gone? Wait a minute. That's not a good thing. We will check on that in a moment. Okay, pro-America trade to end our reliance on China.
Joe Biden claims to support American manufacturing.
Joe Biden complains of I don't know why his volume is down. I'll turn it up. Claims to support American manufacturing because the world is round. Because we're opening 9 chip factories.
But in reality, he's pushing the same pro-China globalist agenda
that has always been there all during my presidency that I did nothing about as I worked on a 3-phase trade deal that never went fucking anywhere.
that ripped the industrial heart out of our country.
No, he didn't. Also, why are you showing your bottom teeth like that? It's concerning.
It ripped us apart.
You're tearing me apart.
Biden and the globalists support raising taxes on American production. They support more crippling
Raising taxes on American production. How so?
regulations killing American jobs.
Oh, you mean the poisonous ones that leave people fingerless at work?
They support skyrocketing domestic energy costs.
Do they? They just like the idea. They're just like, how do we make energy costs skyrocket? I mean, we obviously want to switch to renewables, but in the interim, is there a way we can make it as painful as possible? Write something up.
And they support massive anti-American multinational agreements that send our wealth and factories overseas.
Oh, you mean like your China deal? I'm kidding. That didn't do that because it was a failed China deal. The goal was to do that.
Very simply, the Biden agenda taxes America to build up China. China is the big beneficiary. We cannot let that happen.
Again, does anybody know what the fuck he is talking about? I swear to God, like it's one thing to do he's doing his same Mexican talking points from 2016, 2015. But times have changed. And again, when he does it now, he's built his fucking wall, which he says was done and they were going to do even more of it. So if the border is worse, obviously his wall is partly to blame. What the living... All right. And again, maybe people are new to this. I don't know. This is... Let me try and get a news. Whoops. Let's see this. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's just. Yeah, this is. All right. Hold on. Let me see. Okay. I know I won't be able to show all of this. This is kind of a good example. So if anybody recalls what happened to Japan in the late 80s, early 90s, they had a crash that they have still never recovered from. Like their economy was chugging right along, and then it hit a floor. And it, even in building back, like our 2008, 2009, we definitely went down bad. And it took us a while to get back. But we're pretty, like, even 6 years later, we were pretty close financially to where we were before it, as if it had never happened, right? Japan, however, when theirs was hit, when they had their crash, it fucked them up forever. Like, they're still having problems. And it was partly because of their demographic and their racially homogenous country, and you can't be a true citizen if you're not genetically Japanese, and that's always going to be a problem for countries like that. But if you start running out of productive workers and young people, and you can't replenish them with other folks, but they've got to be your kind, and you're that small a country, historically speaking, that's going to be a problem. And that contributed to why that crash never really recovered. China's economy is looking at a new wave of Japanification. New research suggests that Beijing's property market is as bubbly as Tokyo's 2 decades ago. That's what they're talking about. Let's see. The next few months put Japan in line for a series of anniversaries it would probably prefer to forget, but these are dates which the leadership in China may be wise to mark. The detonation of time bombs with counters set ticking by a property bubble. For these are, some would agree, distinctly echoey times. New research suggests that if it is not careful, China may be on track for a new wave of Japanification. Back in 2003, Japan could no longer fool itself that all was well. The 90s had pitched the country off a trajectory on which it had once seemed capable of overtaking the U.S. Remember, as I was talking about? Its subsequent mishandling of the bad loan mountain built during the 1980s vainglory days put paid to the notion that the country could easily recover. Vast banking mergers encouraged by Tokyo over the previous 3 years, were not enough to disguise a collection of interlocking and unresolved crises. In March 2003, Sumitomo Mitsui Financial Group conducted a panicky reverse merger with a subsidiary amid huge losses. In April, the first signs began to emerge that one of the country's largest lenders, Resona, was failing. By May, taxpayers had rescued it with a $17 billion nationalization program. Later that year, and with the emergency klaxon sounding, a once top-tier regional leader, Ashikaga, went bankrupt. All of these events were deferred explosions, which may have done far less damage had they gone off earlier. The problem, as a team of Citigroup analysts declared this week, is that China today looks strikingly similar to Japan in its post-property bubble era. The country's respective demographic profiles, with China's population now shrinking, as Japan's did years earlier, provide a reminder that after 1990, Japan's housing price index fell as the 35 to 54-year-old cohort decreased. The report focuses its warnings on the potential risks for Chinese banking system. That's on top of countries leaving. And I we looked at this the other day, but it is a prime example of what's going on over there. China no longer viable as world's factory, says Kyocera. They are not the first to say it. They are not alone in saying it, but it is a big deal that a Japanese component maker of computer parts, especially high-level computer parts, is saying it doesn't make any sense to put your factory there ever again. China is doing awesome. I've talked to Xi. He's top of his game. Biden is just trying to treat him like a blah, blah, blah.
And just a couple of years ago, it wasn't happening. China paid to the United States hundreds of billions of dollars, and no other president got 10 cents.
Also, does anybody know what the fuck he's talking about? Obama did steel tariffs. Bush did tariffs against China at one point. Of course they've gotten millions, if not billions of dollars before for playing. Like, this is just, he says this all the time, and I guess nobody around him goes, well, that's obviously materially not true. You can't say that. So nobody says that to him. Nobody fucking says that to him. It's very weird.
Legitimately, 10 cents.
No, not legitimately, not literally, not at all. Nobody knows what the fuck he's talking about.
From China. My agenda will tax China to build up America.
Will tax China to build up America. Tax them at what? Because if you move the factories back over here and you reshore and you have manufacturing here, what are you going to tax from there? Didn't he just tell us that the idea is like, we're going to stop all these factories moved overseas to China, and now we're going to bring them back, and Biden wants them to go over there to China, and we're going to bring them here, and we're going to tax what? What the fuck are they going to make by the time you're
The
there?
heart of my vision is a sweeping pro-American overhaul of our tax and trade policy to move from the Biden system
He's got that weird squeaky right eye thing again.
that punishes domestic producers and rewards outsourcers.
And what program would that be? Is there an executive order you can point to? Is it his America First policy that he actually stands by, to the point where Republicans are saying, you can't do America First when on infrastructure, we don't even make that amount of shit. It's like, yeah, but we're going to use up all of our supplies before we start buying them from someplace else. That's what America First means. It doesn't mean America only. You fucking morons.
To a system that rewards domestic production.
So that stuff is made here that isn't coming from China that you would tax if it was, but it isn't. Great. Okay, I'm with you. It makes total sense.
And taxes foreign companies and those who export American jobs. They will be rewarded and rewarded greatly.
Sorry. Back up.
And trade policy to move from the Biden system that punishes domestic producers and rewards outsourcers.
I don't know what that means. Okay.
To a system that rewards domestic production and taxes foreign companies and those who export American jobs. They will be rewarded and rewarded greatly.
He means the people. He means the people he said would be rewarded before he said the people that would be taxed. So he's not going to reward the people who he just was. He's in pronoun hell. He had to add that sentence, but there was no context of what the fuck he was talking about. So he had to wait until he was done with the sentence to say that. And therefore, gibberish.
And our country will benefit.
Will it?
To achieve this goal, we will phase in a system of universal baseline tariffs on most foreign products.
That's right. Yes. Universal baseline tariffs on most foreign products. Okay. First of all, goodbye, Texas. Because as we all know, Texas's primary trade partner is Mexico. That's right. And if there is a universal baseline foreign tariff of what, I don't know what the fucking percentage would be, please say something like 10%, some bullshit. Because if it's anything less than a micro percent, like you're just going to destroy the economy on day one. The EU is salivating at this idea.
Top of this, higher tariffs will increase incrementally depending on how much individual foreign countries devalue their currency.
Because if you don't, then the tariff doesn't mean anything at all. And also China.
They devalue their currency to take advantage of the United States.
Yeah, but also when they do that, that's one of the things that keeps them from becoming a reserve currency. So while we don't want them to do it and it's a pain in the ass, it is almost singularly why China is never going to be, the yuan will be a reserve currency or beat the US dollar as a reserve currency. And why they stabilize it against the US dollar. But excuse me, I interrupted you, stupid.
They subsidize their industries or otherwise engage in trade cheating and abuse. And they do it now like never before. And we had it largely stopped. And
we had it so nobody did it, and we had it stopped, which is why we were entering a recession in February of 2020 and why COVID masked my economic fuck-ups. And we largely, and again, we largely had it stopped. To quote someone who used to work for him, says who? Says who? He couldn't even get a third of his China trade deal done.
Was going to be stopped completely within.
Remember when he tried to raise an aluminum tariff on Canada, to let a Russian invest in aluminum mill in Kentucky? Except Canada said, nah, you just won't sell you aluminum anymore. Yes. Well, that was again the idea that I'm an outsider, I'm not from Washington, I've been there like 17 times before I became president, I never stayed the night, and that there's a record of, okay, don't tell Melania. But at no point did I did I have to listen to I could choose my own people. I bring the best people, hashtag the best people. And these Washington swamp insiders will not tell me what to do. And then meanwhile, he basically just signed anything they put in front of him.
In less than a year. As tariffs on foreign producers go up, taxes on American producers will go down and go down very substantially. And that means a lot of jobs coming in.
How? And beyond the fact that what he's proposing is theoretically and immensely complicated and extraordinarily it's another extraordinary it's like a bull in a china shop. It is a huge shift in domestic and foreign economic policy. It's enormous. And this idea like, we're going to do this and do this if they try this, and then it's going to be clean sailing, and we could do it very quickly, and it would take like a stroke of a pen, and then I'm back to golf.
Not only will this system end our gaping trade deficits, and they are massive right now, and bring back millions of American jobs, it will also bring trillions and trillions of dollars pouring into the United States Treasury from foreign countries and allow us to invest that money in American workers, American families, and American communities.
If they agree to the trade that we're presumably going to engage in, or they'll just, I guess, file anti-fair trade practice lawsuits with the IMF. And
this plan will be the linchpin of a new strategic national manufacturing initiative that builds on my historic success in ending NAFTA, which was a tremendous thing, a tremendous achievement. Nobody thought it could be done.
It was everybody thought NAFTA needed modification. They modified it and they renamed it at the time. Calm the fuck down.
And we did USMCA, US, Mexico, Canada.
US, Mexico, Canada. It was a whole thing.
And it was an incredible thing.
It was, and now it's dead, and it was useless.
But we're also going to end other unfair trade deals, and we'll end them quickly.
Why didn't you do it when you were fucking president then? If you know, for fuck's sake. How quickly? You had 4 goddamn years.
In addition, as a matter of both economic and national security, I will implement a bold series of reforms to completely eliminate dependence on China. In all critical areas. We will revoke China's most favored nation trade status and adopt a 4-year plan to phase out all Chinese imports of essential goods, everything from electronics to steel to pharmaceuticals.
4 years. In 4 years, every company has to move their factory out. And by the way, again, most of this is happening already. Like, Apple, all these guys, they're moving their factories to Taiwan or to Vietnam or Indonesia or India next. Oh my God.
This will include strong protections to ensure China cannot circumvent restrictions by passing goods through conduit countries that don't make a product, but all of a sudden they're selling a lot of product. It comes right through China, right out of China.
They don't make anything. They just like MAGA hats. They come right out of China, and they go right through this Mexican salesperson that trucks them up to Texas, and then they sit there for 24 hours, and then the people blow dust off of them, and then made in America, made in the USA.
And right into our country. We will also adopt new rules to stop U.S. companies.
Oh, by the way, this also has a lot to do with his anger towards Jeff Bezos in the Washington Post, but specifically Amazon, is that drop shipping from China is a huge aspect of the Amazon marketplace. And what he's going to try to do is gut Amazon, to some degree eBay and Etsy shippers who get goods from China and then ship them through to a wholesaler in Canada or some other country and then sell them in the States. And the idea is that so he can kneecap Jeff Bezos.
From pouring investments into China and to stop China from buying up America, allowing all of those investments that clearly serve American interests. We're not going to allow bad things to happen to our country anymore.
Okay, he got lost there for a second. He was supposed to say that make bad things. All right, let's listen to that again.
And right into our country. We will also adopt new rules to stop U.S. companies from pouring investments into China and to stop China from buying up America, allowing all of those investments that clearly serve American interests. We're not going to allow bad things to happen to our country anymore.
Yeah, so apparently China buying up America serves American interests, and he's not going to allow bad things to happen. Whew. Fucking hell.
And we will eliminate federal contracts for any company that outsources to China.
Again, because of Biden's Made in America rules, most of this stuff is already done. And by the way, nothing about what Biden is doing could not have been done, during the Trump administration. Nothing that Biden is doing, including, reshoring chip factories and that kind of stuff to the United States. None of that was out of the question during the Trump administration. Not a thing. Especially with COVID going on. Like, you could argue that, holy fuck, China tried to attack us. Lab leak. So they just decide, fuck it, everybody out. We're putting fuck China in this bullshit. Okay, well, Chinese people fine, CCP bad. Everybody who does business there, new rule. We're in an emergency. Get the fuck out. And if you even ship stuff from China, you're screwed. Move your shit elsewhere. Like, you could have done that. You could have had the most extraordinary shift in the world, just like he could have gotten out of Afghanistan during COVID just by saying, we can't even train people here and our staff can't even leave the embassy. So we're just going to leave, guys. We'll be back. Don't worry. And then they get out before they even know you're gone.
We'll never get the job done. He is weak on China because the corrupt Biden family has received millions and millions of dollars from entities tied to the Chinese Communist Party.
Communist Party. Millions. He's got money and I'm broke as fuck. How is it that this dunderheaded criminal mastermind who can't finish a sentence but can control a spider web of criminality across the entire... How is it?
Everybody knows that.
Yeah, I know that, and you know that, and China knows that.
Try and hide it, and the fake news doesn't want to talk about it. Biden's pro-China economic program puts America last, and it's killing our country. My cutting-edge trade agenda will...
His cutting-edge trade agenda. This is modern, kids. There's going to be an app. The Trump Trade app. Get used to it. It's going to be the #1 download on the iPhone store. Well, #2, right after Truth Social.
Revitalize our economy by once again putting America first. And by the way, we'll get along very well with China.
Sure, yes. We're going to start a nonstop trade war with them that means to decimate them as in the only area where they're able to advance themselves, build infrastructure, feed their people. We're going to do a full frontal assault on that, put tariffs on any country that sells to us or to American companies or the federal government using any Chinese goods or anything along the Chinese goods supply line immediately upon taking office, but they're going to love us for it.
They're going to be very friendly because they know we're only doing it because we love our people. We love America, and they love China.
And you know what the reason is?
No, I don't. What is it?
They'll respect us again like they...
I see. They'll respect the beating they're getting. They'll respect... yes. We will pee in their face, and they'll go, thanks for the rain, because that's how things work. It won't... There will be no backlash. It will be very uncomplicated. We won't have to do anything at all. Our companies will be forced to move out quickly, and it'll happen in a day, and they'll just shutter their factories and start making super fun, electronic, super complicated stuff automatically in Wisconsin.
They did just 2 years ago.
Yes, China totally respected us. That's why they gave us COVID, and they tried to kill us all, and... They owe us. We're going to make them pay trillions of dollars, but they'll respect it. like a kid.
You will quickly become a manufacturing powerhouse like the world has never seen before.
Yeah, quickly. I mean, it's not hard. I mean, give him a break. The guy, it's not like the guy's been president before. He's never had a shot at it. You guys give him a shot.
Thank you very much.
Yes. This is his America First platform that takes a sledgehammer to globalism. No, it doesn't. It's a bunch of jibber jabber. And the best part about it, like everything else he bullshits about, is that he had 4 years already. The AUKUS agreement, the CHIPS Act, the America First aspect of the infrastructure bill that Biden put in, that the infrastructure in America will be built with American materials first and foremost, and will only be bought from foreign sources after we've run out of steel and asphalt and concrete and wires and copper and fiber optic, all that shit. After that, if we don't have enough, then we can buy foreign stuff. But until that point, we're buying nothing but we're buying up America's stock. That's it. Yeah. That's not something that was impossible 3 years ago. Remember how Trump used to I got to sign that thing to hold up a people. I'm America first. And he'd hold up his, I made up stinky paper. Like a toddler showing you toilet paper after he went poo. He'd show his little EKG handwriting on something and go, yeah, what we did? Okay, cool. Handshake, thanks. Write up something else for me to sign tomorrow. None of it. None of the things that the Biden administration is doing that are great, that are stiff-arming Chinese encroachment on the American economy, or strengthening the bond between us and our European partners to stiff-arm them or protect people in the South China Sea or protect Taiwan, any of that stuff. None of that was impossible under when Trump was in office. So it wasn't even... You could argue that parts of it would have been easier at the time, again, because of COVID. Because he could have used it as a spring excuse to trigger all these things. He just didn't give a fuck. Hold on. And this is, I'll think, a good example of it. Hold on. Trump, China.
Really incredible breakthrough. Most people thought this could never happen. Should have happened 25 years ago, by the way, but that's okay.
By the way, he was a fucking mess when all this went down.
A man who also has become a good friend of mine and somebody who's very, very talented and very capable. We're delighted to be joined by Vice Premier Liu Ha and Ambassador Shui.
I love when he says foreign names. Yo-ha. Yo-ha.
And many other representatives from the People's Republic of China. We are especially proud of the efforts of Vice President Mike Pence, who is with us. And Mike, I'd like to have you say a few words, please.
Say something about what the fuck is in this thing and so I can sign it. I don't even know. Does anybody... Okay. And then, so he does this, says the normal part. And then, here you go.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks for making sense about it, Mike. Now I got to go up here and look like an asshole.
Thank you, Mike. An incredible job.
Great job. Excellent. I'd like to take a moment to say COVID is bullshit and is going to go away in seconds.
Incredible guy.
Who has a lovely wife, Carrot.
I also want to give special thanks to our U.S. Trade Representative, who's been kept very busy. He's doing a lot of deals. We'll have another big one next week.
No, you won't.
It should get approved very shortly, and that'll be tremendous with Canada and Mexico. But we'll talk about that next week. But Robert Lighthizer, are we keeping you busy?
By the way, Lighthizer is the moving force between anything good that came during the Trump administration. Lighthizer is the only person who understands this. And he's a continuation. He served in I want to say the Bush. Hold on. Yeah, Lighthizer. There he is. Ba, 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 ba. Yeah, so let's see. Da, 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 da. Yeah, he was the deputy trade representative under Ronald Reagan. And then let's see, graduating lines, 18th trade and thing, policy views, tariffs, okay, blah blah blah. He had his 83, 78, served in a senior position in 88 campaign. Yeah, so he was on Bob Dole's presidential campaign as his. He was the treasurer, and then let's see, 85. He joined Skadden Arps, Slate, Mager, and Flom as a partner. And he practiced international trade at Skadden for over 30 years. That's where he representing American workers and businesses ranging from manufacturing to financial services, agriculture, and technology. While at Skadden, Lighthizer worked to expand markets to U.S. exports and defended U.S. industries from unfair trading practices. So he's been around for a long time. Everybody in Washington knows him. Here, hold on. Here's a picture. There's a little picture of him right there. That's him meeting Reagan. Lighthizer's been effectively is the only functional hire that Trump got. And by the way, everybody else knew it.
Huh? Poor guy can't sleep. He tosses and turns. What happened to him?
I'm sorry.
Oh.
That was dropped. And
Oh, okay.
I'm all
Thanks. Mike, that's right, you are all-purpose, come to think. But Bob Lighthizer is really an outstanding guy, gets along with people, he's smart.
Did he just call him Mike?
Right, you are all-purpose, come to think. Thanks. Mike, that's right, you are all-purpose, come to think.
Yep, he called him Mike 3 times and then called him Bob again because it's in the screens in the back.
But Bob Lighthizer is really an outstanding guy, gets along with people, he's smart, he's sharp, and he understands trade better than anybody. When I first took this, I said, I got to get the best guy. And all signs pointed to Robert Lighthizer.
Yeah, they told him who to get. Again, this all signs pointed to Robert Lighthizer, whatever. It's so lame.
So thank you very much, Bob. Thank you very much.
Everybody said pick you, so I made the tough decision and picked you. Trump has this big thing where he's like, this is the most respected guy. Everybody says he's perfect, so I went out on a limb and recommended him. So he didn't notice there was never been a point where Trump said, this guy, everybody said it would be a fucking mistake. And I took a chance on this guy and it paid off because my belief in him outweighed everybody else. He did a great job when everybody else said he would stink up the joint. Never, ever. Everybody either warned him off someone and he took them anyways because somebody told him that he had to pick that person, and they turned out to be shit, and he blamed everybody who was like, what the fuck are you hiring that guy for? Namely Bolton. And then the rest of them were people like, yeah, I mean, yeah, if you can get him, that'd be awesome. And then he's like, I went on a huge hunt through the offices going, who does everyone recommend unanimously so that they can do a job I have no interest in, and I can claim credit for finding a diamond in the rough. It's like American Idol, but I want nothing, but I want, if I could have American Idol where all the contestants are Celine Dion, Dolly Parton, whoever's great, get a list of great singers. This is the signing of the Phase 1 China deal. Here you go. And he goes and he reads this thing and.
Will you say thank you, Mr. President, at least? Huh? I made a lot of bankers look very good, but you're doing a great job. Say hello to Jamie. I think we're seeing him tomorrow.
Jamie Dimon is who he's talking about.
Nancy.
I don't know.
Falotoco of
All right. At a certain point, then he sits down, and they go over there, and they talk about this, and then they talk about the thing, and then they have their trade reps talk about it, and everybody goes over there, and then they go and they sit down, and then this happened.
and the rights of the Chinese people to pursue a better life is what should be there. There is great potential for greater China-US cooperation, and the defining feature of this economic cooperation between our two countries is mutual benefit. People of both countries benefit from such cooperation. These facts haven't and will not change. The China-US relationship is now at a crucial juncture.
By the way, I think this is the point where this dude kind of dunked on Trump a little bit and was kind of a dick. And then ultimately, again, they never lived up to even the first phase.
As we have reached the Phase 1 trade agreement, it is now important that we leverage the opportunity, earnestly implement the strategic consensus reached between our two presidents, and keep our bilateral relations in the right direction. We need to strengthen strategic communication and dialogue on various levels to build trust, reduce misgivings, misunderstandings, and misjudgment, and properly manage differences so as to build a China-US relationship based on coordination, cooperation, and stability. To conclude,
by the way, COVID was stam-fucking-peating towards the entire world right at this moment. And Trump was downplaying all this stuff and screaming at Mike Pompeo around these days, saying, don't fuck up my trade deal by clamoring on about how COVID came from China.
Dude, I want to take this opportunity to thank you again, friends from all the communities in the United States, for your support to the healthy growth of China-US relations. Let's work together in the new year. Thank you.
Well, just in closing, and we're going to sign right now, but it just doesn't get any bigger than this. Not only...
No, I did this. This is the greatest ever. So good. What's the date on this? It says 3 years ago, but I want to see what the... What's the... show it. Okay. Yeah.
In terms of a deal, but really in terms of what it represents. Keeping these two giant and powerful nations together in harmony is so important for the world, not only
it is, it's so important
for us, for the whole world. And
it worked out that way. Yeah, January 15th, 2020. Yeah.
The world is watching today, so it's a great honor to be involved. It's a great honor, Mr. Vice Premier, to be with you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And thanks for that $15 million. And come here, let me give us a kiss. Let's go over and sign this, since neither one of us are going to live up to either side of it. I am. I'm going to sell you basically all the beef, pork, corn, and soybeans we can get rid of, and then you're going to...
history here, the epic and very historic Phase
Epic and historic.
1 China trade deal.
Oh, yes, it would turn out to be epic and historic.
At the White House.
Come up here and stand up here. Stand up here. Stand up, banker people. Banker people, come up and stand next to me.
That President Trump wants.
So that if I ever get in trouble, there's a picture of you guys standing behind me while I did this.
Some of the business CEOs that came.
Uh-huh. You business guys all have to stand there. He's aged a lot since then, by the way. Anyways, so yeah, there. Look at this. Blech. Thank you. So just a reminder that all during that time and continually going forward, because he still had two more phases they had to go through, and they never lived up to phase 1 ever. They bought $10 billion worth of food that they desperately needed. There's no way China could not have bought at least that amount, because they literally need it. They import the majority of their food. So the vast majority, 80 some odd percent. So yeah. The idea that he's somehow going to reinvent U.S.-China relations, where China gets excluded or stiff-armed now versus the way things are going, is just goofy. It's just silly. It is an absurdity. But he can put this up there to, I guess, perpetuate the myth that Biden is owned by China. I'm going to fight China for real, not this stuff. Now, I've still got some time left. By the way, tomorrow, guys, I'm singing at the Jam. I'm hosting the Jam tomorrow night at the Whiskey. It is the tribute to Sammy Hagar. We're going to be doing Sammy Hagar music. and I'm very excited about that. I will be singing some really high notes tomorrow. I'm doing Dreams, Best of Both Worlds, and right now, go listen to those songs, and I would like you to, as best you can, sit in judgment of me while when I post the audio from those things. I want you to go, all right, let's see if you can do it. Come on, bring it, kid. Bring it. Let's hear those notes. We do 5150 live with Nerd Halen, but a couple of the Nerd Halen guys will be performing with me. Caleb and, of course, Sean, our sometimes bass player who's filling in. Our drummer, I think, he's playing one of them, two of them. I don't know. Anyways, hopefully most. Victor's out of town. He's touring. He's got a giant tour because he's super famous. Victor, our bass player, works more than anybody. He's the bass player for Engelbert Humperdinck. I'm not kidding. So, yeah. Anyways, tomorrow night, I will be doing those. So, sound check happens right when I do a show. So, tomorrow there will be no show. I'm sorry. In the very near future, as I'm continuing to host these things, what I'm going to do is preload an hour-long show and let it air during the time we would normally have the show, if that's cool with people. If not, I think that will work. Just for those times. So every couple of weeks, it'll be a Tuesday like that. And I will be, yes, I stream the sound check. I will be putting my phone up. I'm bringing my stand with me, and I'm going to live stream the sound check just so you guys can hear what's going on, if that's cool. So, yeah, that'll be a good time. And then, of course, they're going to start giving me copies of all my songs that I'm going to post to Patreon. So, anyways, I will miss you guys tomorrow, and I will see you guys on Wednesday. Philip will be joining us, and then Kimberly Johnson's going to be joining us next Monday. I'm going to see if I can get maybe Bob on Friday or something like that, and get us our regular guest role going and that stuff. Okay, cool. So, love you guys, and here we go. All right, now, and by the way, like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Help me at some point. Maybe bring on another person who can help me book guests and do all that kind of stuff. That'll be a thing. Yeah, that's stage 3. We gotta clear the 100K subscriber thing, and that's gonna take a bit. We're at it. We're gonna do it. So I'm not done for the night though, because we've seen lies tonight. We've seen madness. We've seen goofy excuses from former presidents and their shitty sons about what coulda, shoulda, woulda, coulda, shoulda. If they hadda done they coulda, woulda, and if you give them one more chance, they will, but they didn't, and they couldn't have. But we haven't really, and around the lab leak theory, which, by the way, no one got in trouble for asking questions about the lab leak. Again, people got in trouble for asserting an intentional leak of a lab-created virus. That's where people got in trouble, because there was a rise in attacks on Chinese people or Asian people in general, because people can't tell the difference sometimes, especially racist people who wouldn't even bother to. I guess if you can't tell them apart, doesn't make any difference anyways. You're just a racist asshole regardless. So to push back against that and make sure that didn't expand, they made a very distinct point of making sure that people, if they said, like, where did it come from? Because it possibly came from that Wuhan lab, and if it did, what can we do about something like that? None of those people had a problem. It's the Chinese are released and they're making killer viruses and we should nuke them. That kind of shit. That's what got you kicked off. So, anyways, if I may, ladies and gentlemen, we need a little bit of, like, the conspiratorial aspect of it. Now, let's say that, as Trump was working with China, getting his $15 million payday from China, and pretending that China was doing its bestest the whole time, remember? During that period, we could have found out that's where it came from with some level of confidence directly, because Trump was talking to Xi every day. Again, WHO was not who he was taking. his notes from. He was getting it directly from the horse's mouth, or Winnie the Pooh's mouth. And in this particular instance, I guess the suspicion is that it couldn't be that the Biden administration came in and literally said, everybody try and figure out what really happened. Because if you'll recall, hold on. Let's see. Biden orders origin of COVID. Let's see. The originally, see. Yeah, here you go. So, Biden orders investigation into virus origin as lab leak theory debated. Hold on. Get out of here. U.S. President Joe Biden has ordered intelligence officials to redouble efforts to investigate the origins of COVID-19, including the theory that it came from a laboratory in China. He said the U.S. intelligence community was split on whether it came from a lab accident or emerged from human contact with an infected animal. That is still true, by the way. Mr. Biden asked the groups to report back to him in 90 days. China has rejected the laboratory theory. Smear campaigns and blame shifting are making a comeback, and the conspiracy theory of lab leak is resurfacing, its embassy in U.S. said in a statement on Thursday. Since it was first detected in the Chinese city of Wuhan in 2019, more than 168 million cases have emerged, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Authorities linked early COVID cases to seafood market in Wuhan, leading scientists to theorize the virus first passed to humans from animals. But recent U.S. media reports have suggested growing evidence the virus could have instead of emerged from the laboratory in China, perhaps through an accidental leak. In what passes for relative transparency in the U.S. government, the Biden administration has conceded the American intelligence community is split on COVID-19's origin. It could be the lab or animal-to-human contact, and no one is near certain about it. That makes a big shift from the decision heaped on the lab theory by many in the media and politics last year when Donald Trump, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, Tom Cotton, and others floated this idea. Mr. Trump and Mr. Pompeo didn't help the situation, however, as they were coy about the grounds for their suspicion, and their theories floating alongside some far-fetched ones, such as the disease was manufactured as a bioweapon in a Chinese lab. That possibility still seems highly unlikely. And again, for all the trolls out there and the maggots that are fans, if indeed it was a manufactured bioweapon from a Chinese lab, do you know what that means? That means that Donald Trump was president of the United States during the biggest bioweapon attack in the history of America, and his response was to sign a trade deal with the people who did it and sell them all of our beef, pork, corn, and soybeans while Americans were in food lines. There is no escaping that. That was Donald Trump's response. So if you think that it was an intentional attack, you have to also admit that that was Donald Trump's response. Okay? You got me? Okay, good. Now, so, but the question that Glenn can't figure out is Biden is president. He's owned and controlled by the Chinese government, right? So how would it be that during the Biden presidency, this comes out as part of a story? If he's controlled by China, then obviously he would ratchet all of this down and make sure it didn't come out. Could it be that maybe it didn't come? Maybe it was from Ukraine, and that's why they want us to think it was from China.
So, Stu, did you hear the COVID-19 pandemic likely originated from a Chinese lab leak? This, according to the U.S. Department of Energy.
Lies? Department of Lies?
Of Energy?
Yeah, that is kind of weird. The Department of Energy. Now, you know that what you just said is a conspiracy theory, and you are no longer broadcasting. We've already cut the feed. We cut the cord to the...
By the way, this has been the story all along, too. By the way, that asserting this before you had any information, or asserting, by the way, even now, technically speaking, if this was true, since they're asserting something as if it's highly confident when it comes as low confidence from the Department of Energy, and that there's a split in the intelligence community about it, by reporting that half-assed, if it was true that everybody gets shut down for even talking about this, the title of my show would get me kicked off today if any of that bullshit was true. And secondarily, I'm getting this clip of theirs from YouTube.
To the satellites.
Now, do I have to have the disclaimer on everything I post and say now that the U.S. Department of Energy has concluded that that's probably the most likely?
Well, they had some oil pump stuff they were working on, some solar panel stuff,
right?
And then they're like, "Oh yeah, and the origin of COVID is this."
Well, that's. I mean, when I think of the best detectives, I think of the Department of Energy.
Yes.
Don't you?
Yeah.
Right. That's a good idea. Mock the source where you're developing your "see everybody knew it" attitude from as being not credible and a terrible source.
Yeah. All right. So, according to classified intelligence report recently supplied to the White House and key members of Congress, a leak from the Chinese laboratory is likely the origin of the COVID pandemic. Now, this is coming as a complete shock to most Americans. The Wall Street Journal reported the Energy Department now joins the Federal Bureau of Investigation, saying the virus likely spread via a
Wait, the who?
Now joins the Federal Bureau of Investigation, saying
the who?
Wall Street Journal reported the Energy Department now joins the Federal Bureau of Investigation, saying
the Federal Bureau of Investigation. You mean the FBI, the organization that you guys want dismantled, the group that needs to be burned to ashes and restarted over again because fuck them, they're monsters. So the FBI was already had already made this assessment from their investigative standpoint, but they obviously with whatever level of confidence they've said it. But now that the Department of Energy is saying it, which is, by the way, another organization these assholes want to dismantle,
the virus likely spread via a mishap at the Chinese laboratory. Wow! So we got it from the Did you know about the FBI and what they were saying?
I've heard the FBI was.
He's bullshit.
Believed that it may be.
Maybe.
He's lying. He's just making that up because that's the answer Glenn wants. Look at his face. Glenn's like, back me up on this by saying yes.
Okay. So the Wall Street Journal says the conclusion is a result of new intelligence. Now remember that, because I think I know what the new intelligence is.
Very exciting.
New intelligence, and it is significant because the agent has considerable scientific expertise and a network of U.S. national laboratories, some of which conduct advanced biological research. Now, when I think of energy, I don't necessarily think of biological research.
Right.
That is because you are a fucking moron. And here's why. Let's just say I have a bunch of pathogens that cause wheat blight and bird flu and all kinds of stuff. And we spend a good part of our day trying to make sure that shit, A, stays under lock and key, and B, we're able to develop and continue our research so that we can fight it or stop it one day. And the power goes out, and the door latches fail, and every electronic key card thing in here suddenly falls apart, and we're in Jurassic Park land, and some Wayne Knight motherfucker with a shaving can full of the world's worst pathogens decides to fucking 12 monkey himself onto a goddamn plane and kill everyone, because the energy system, the electrical system, and the security of that system and its backups are not up to the capacity they need to protect that from happening. So you might want to consult the people at the Department of Energy so that that doesn't happen. The Department of Energy works with the DoD and works with the NIH and all kinds of organizations, the FAA, to make sure there are fail-safes for airplane light, like landing light systems and all kinds of stuff to go, okay, this is your best bet battery backup wise. What's your fail-safe for any of the electrical systems you might need here? And especially in foreign countries. NASA, another great example. The reason that this seems weird to Glenn is because he's stupid. Because he's a stupid man. He's very dumb and stupid. And the worst part is he might know this and just be playing dumb for the sake of his audience, which is even dumber than just being dumb.
Okay, I mean, this is not the point of the story. Like, this is not what we should be taking from it. But it is important to note that perhaps our agencies have grown to a bit of a extraordinary size when the Department of Energy has an opinion on where the origin of COVID came from.
Well, because there are electric locks and electric fail-safes in the lab itself that it works with biolabs all across the world, and know that they know the level of quality and the weaknesses in the Chinese system because they interact with it where we do have embassies and whatnot, and God damn it. So his problem is not that this organization is able to infer from the reality it deals with on a regular basis. It is allowed to infer that they can kind of track a problem based on the electronic failures that they might see, which is more than likely what we're talking about. And that's a good thing that they're smart enough to do that. I think the bigger story here is that these motherfuckers who want to get rid of the FBI all the time are not giving credit where credit is due, because apparently, believe me, it's a much bigger fucking story for these guys that the FBI believes it, or at least leans towards a low confidence, most likely scenario.
It's because they have considerable scientific expertise.
I'm sure they do.
They oversee a network of U.S. national laboratories.
But why? Why would the Department of Energy?
Because none of the biolabs out there are coal firing and run on firewood. It's painful. Like the dumb, it hurts. It hurts. The dumb, it hurts.
Oversee
because they're the ones that have all the labs that are doing all of the very, very high tech. The we talked about it just recently. The fusion or fission, which is it?
You don't understand either. Does it matter?
Plant that came from the national labs. Okay.
Fusion, by the way.
That's overseen by.
We've had fission for a long time.
By the energy.
By the way, fission, fusion. Fission easy part, fusion hard part.
If you're good at nuclear fusion,
because
you are then also good at biological origins.
Nuclear is directly tied to.
Okay, this is just dumb.
Not only the Department of Energy, but also to blowing things up.
Right.
So if you're blowing things up, you might as well have a few scientists in there who's like, before we blow things up, what do you say? Maybe we, I don't know, maybe we kill them with a deadly virus.
Yep. Yeah, so just in case you're wondering what the fuck that was about, besides a shit joke, Glenn Beck and his Sonic sidecar Stu there think that the Department of Energy is full of, I suppose, Russians. I think he was trying to go with a Nazi German voice and just fucked it up. Usually he will go with the German side of things. And that because we brought over Werner von Braun or Operation Paperclip and the rocket program of NASA post World War II, because the Nazis made a lot of these guys work for them with a gun to their head, and we thought maybe we have them over here, they make some rockets that go someplace instead of just go someplace and blow it up. And over that, I guess during this process, he thinks that we just incorporated a bunch of like Hermann Goebbels or Gorings or that ilk in there to just like, we just have a few foreign murderers working in every department.
So are we in France? Why is
they're always cooking something up in France?
Oh,
okay. All right. So the Department of Energy now, you ready? Has made the determination, quote, with low confidence.
Okay.
What the hell? What?
That's not a determination.
That's not a determination. That's like, I don't know. Could be. You don't come out and say,
Well, also, the problem he's having is he took off the most likely as opposed to likely, because you don't bother with likely with low confidence. Most likely, but with low confidence. We can't. The information we have isn't gonna ring anybody's bell. So, thanks. And there's no Facebook. There isn't. Say crackers in there or something. Okay. Oh, maybe did I get kicked off there? Did I get? It might be. I might have gotten kicked off of. No, it says I'm on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, aren't I? Allegedly. I don't understand. Mr. Bond. Yep, it says I'm in there. Although I wouldn't be surprised if it got bounced off because of the title on there. Huh. Anyways.
The Department of Energy is joining the Federal Bureau of Investigation, saying that it is likely spread via a mishap. Okay, wait. And this conclusion is a result of new intelligence and is significant. By the way, very low confidence. Very low. Very, very low.
It's very strange.
What?
It's a strange story from...
Because that's how the reports are read. If this is true, it is significant. However, the source of the intel, however explosive, is only verifiable up to a certain point and therefore only reaches low confidence. This is not a news report. People are reading a classified document to reporters or other people, probably more than likely Republican members of the House who are, reading this secretly or telling whoever their source was. So that's how these things go. Like, okay, we found a significant piece of information that, if true, points that this is most likely how it happened. The source by which we got it is 3 or 5, people deep. So we're in a game of telephone and we're 6, 7 people away from the original source. So technically speaking, it gets categorized as low confidence. However, we believe because of other stuff that we paired it with that it's most likely the reality. However, the source of that belief is sources that in a material form falls into multiple categories, and the category it fits in specifically is low confidence.
Beginning to end.
Is it?
Why do you announce a determination if you have low confidence
now,
in that?
Because of the reasons I just said.
That is a good question.
No, it isn't, because they didn't announce it. It's from a classified briefing that was not an announcement. It was this is new information that we have, and this is where it puts us, but it doesn't change the minds of any of the other intel communities, so there hasn't been an announcement. And this is why we are dealing with with Tweedledum and Tweedledummer.
I mean, I feel like if you have low confidence in a determination, you do not have a determination.
Right. Well, you have new evidence that's significant, but it's so significant, it leads you to low confidence.
It's our government.
Okay.
In a nutshell right there.
All right. Okay. So why?
By the way, it's our government in a nutshell. This is so fucking perfect. These small government. We want a government so small that Vladimir Putin can drown the U.S. government in a fucking bathtub, or any dictator can topple our government in a matter of days. We need a really streamlined government. Fuck, we need to put the entire government on a laptop so somebody can run off with it. But for the record, both of these assholes are relying on a secondhand report of this classified briefing, which never reached the level to change the opinion of the overall intel community, and therefore create a situation where they had a briefing and said it to the public and to the world. This is what we now think, thanks to this stuff. It's a classified note from the Department of Energy being given to certain members of Congress, and those members of Congress telling it to the press because they think it furthers their political cause. And these guys hearing a secondhand sniped little version of it, minus all the other details, picture giant redacted document, and they're picking sentences out of it and going, see, we were right all the time. I was always right. That's what Don Jr.'s doing. That's what they're doing. We knew it all along. At the same time, they are quoting something that they can't believe even rose to the level of being brought up in a meeting.
Why would they announce that this weekend?
Well, I mean, first of all,
they didn't.
It's likely true, right? I mean, we don't know for certain. But if this was a...
So you're both saying you have low confidence.
I don't have low confidence.
Right. I would say
very
moderate
high.
to high.
Yeah,
right?
very high.
Yeah, but that's based on ego and your own paranoid delusion.
Confidence. I mean, if this was a murder story with all this, the evidence that we have on this, we would all the jury would come back 12-0 and say guilty.
Yeah, guilty.
Right?
Yeah. And by the way, it kind
no, as a matter of fact, they wouldn't. They would not. More than likely, a jury worth its salt, even if it were true, judging on what we know right now, would come back with not guilty because of reasonable doubt. Because there's so much, because presumably, if we're talking about we're going to carry this court analogy to its ad absurdum conclusion, the defense for the Chinese point of view would be, this didn't come from the lab. There's a wet market right over here, and it brought, like, the same dude who brought bats from up and gave them to the lab also brought them up and sold them at the wet market. He's not supposed to, but he did. And so, it could have bitten somebody, or it could have been, transferred there. There's no trail. There's no human being you can track from here to here. And circumstantially, the wet market is as reasonable a place as possible. It's just silly.
Kind of is a murder story.
It's more of a mass genocide.
Genocidal.
Well, no, a genocide is specific. This was abstract. That's one of the reasons why it doesn't really play out as a specific genocide.
Well, let's be kind, serial killer.
Right. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
In some ways, you're right. But, again,
a serial killer without a type.
Again, when you come to the scientific end of it, I mean, I certainly have spent, you're going to be surprised to hear, less time in the lab than you might think.
Well, I'm
determining the origins of
I'm
deadly
a doctor,
viruses.
Man.
You're
a
a doctor.
I can talk science.
You're different.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have low confidence, moderate confidence, high confidence?
Very high confidence.
Okay.
Now,
good.
you still could talk me out of it. You
It's
still could.
possible. Like, if they found, I don't know, the
Right. So these would be the jurors, again, in their own analogy, and they've already made up their mind. So they would be bounced from the jury because they can't be objective. This is just
the thing that they always find, which is the animal that has a trace of this in the normal population anywhere in the world. Like, for example, that might go a long way.
That might be good, yeah.
Yeah, they have.
We found the monkeys. The monkeys, vomit blood, bleed from their eyes, but they found them.
Again, what I say, 28 days later. This is his attachment. This is how they make decisions.
Right. They found them.
Like
they watch movies that are crafted around a certain level of paranoia and accept that as how things work in general and draw all of that. This is the problem with, and considering how much I love the 80s, and there's tape to prove it, the idea that you're using plot points from worst case scenario action comedies and horror films points to the fact that reality has no bearing on any of the conversations you're having, and that the complexity befuddles you.
No.
Now, they've only been trying to find it the entire time and have not found it, which is it's not impossible that this would be the case, but it is very unlikely by at this point they would not find the natural spillover candidate.
No, they wouldn't, because China's opaqueness would be the very same reason why they believe it didn't come, they would hide the fact that it came from a lab the same way they would hide the fact that it came from the wet market. The Chinese were, for a while, blaming American white-tailed deer. They were also... China also told the world that the U.S. Army started it. Yep. Let's see. They, yeah. Very sweet. By the way, Trump still trusts them to make a deal, and they're going to respect us again. Hold on. Let's see. How about this? White-tailed deer. Yeah, here you go. These are Chinese news sources. Comment. White-tailed deer. Where were you infected with COVID-19? Would you please tell us all where you were infected with COVID-19? Commentary. Here's another one. This is CTV News. White-tailed deer harboring COVID-19 variants, though thought to be nearly extinct in humans. Let's see. China News. How did the white-tailed deer... Yeah, it's comment. They put these pictures up on their Facebook page. Let's see. It's the deer to human later. U.S. vicious slanders. This is the Embassy of the People's Republic of China in the United States. U.S. vicious slanders on China over COVID-19 origins, tracing and the truth. On U.S. claim that clusters of COVID-19 cases first appeared in Wuhan. Facts. A growing number of clues, reports, and studies have indicated that COVID-19 cases emerged in many places around the world as early as the second half of 2019. Outbreak in the United States occurred earlier than the officially confirmed case. A study by Italian research institutes have revealed the virus may be circulated in Italy as early as late summer of 2019. U.S. national joint study. University of California showed number of patients with respiratory symptoms and diseases late December 2019, February 2020 has increased significantly. Yeah, because of people traveling a lot to China and back. 171 showed symptoms of COVID-19 as early as January of 2020, and none of them reported any travel experience to China 2 months before the symptoms. So people with respiratory problems didn't test positive, but whatever. And by the way, no evidence that they ever did. But this is like a huge list. I want to find the thing where they're like white-tailed deer. Chinese Academy to publish a study on dating the origins. The researchers set up an optimized model using the epidemic transmission model and big data analysis method and inferred the dates of the first infection cases in 12 northeastern U.S. states and in China's Wuhan city and Zhejiang province based on published data. The result indicated that 12 U.S. states, the possible dates of the first infection with a probability of 50% fall mostly between August and October 2019, while the earliest is April 26, 2019 on Rhode Island, and the latest is November 2019 in Delaware. All of the dates indicated were earlier than the January 2020, the officially announced date of the first confirmed case in the United States. National Cancer Institute, News Outlet, Local Italy, blah, blah, blah. U.S. false claims of virus leak from Wuhan Institute of Virology and the Chinese Academy of Sciences. Vicious slander number 2. The COVID-19 outbreak may be directly linked to the Wuhan Institute of Virology of the Chinese Academy of Sciences. Facts of truth. The COVID-19 outbreak has nothing to do with the Wuhan Institute of Virology. That's what they say. Just facts and the truth. Wang Yanyi, director of the WIV, told CGTN, told state television run by the CCP in May of 2020 that year in interviews that speculation of the virus leak from the WIV is pure fabrication, and that the Wuhan Institute of Virology had never encountered, researched, or kept the virus, which is factually not true on so many fronts. It's just goofy. There's the videos and links, and they issued a statement saying the institute had not been exposed to COVID-19 before December 30th of 2019. There's Peter Daszak. There he is, Peter Balzac. This is the guy that they link to Fauci all the time because of Eco Health or what Alliance, that they think is the reason why all this shit is happening. Yeah, Peter Daszak, a virologist and president of the U.S.-based Eco Health Alliance, who has worked with the Wuhan Institute of Virology for 15 years, said in an interview with CNN that WIV did not have the virus that caused COVID-19 outbreak, so it is impossible the virus originated from that laboratory. Just for the record, Peter Daszak is full of shit. It's materially false now, like everybody knows.
However, if they were to find that, you might say, okay, well, let's look at that evidence and see if it's legitimate. But there's so much circumstantial evidence piled up on the side of the lab leak at this point.
Right. Yes, but there's also equally circumstantial evidence that it came from the wet market, or that it came from people who got animals for the wet market or for the lab, or both.
That you'd think,
so that it came from the city in the area of people who worked for one or either.
To be obvious to
or both or
pretty much everybody that it should be a central consideration, and that was basically the reasoning we had in April 2020 for bringing this up, right?
Right.
The fact that now the Department of Energy is getting to the point in what are we, February 2023?
Yeah. 3 years late.
They're like, we kind of agree with that with Glenn Beck circa 2020.
Right. Yeah, we're sorry
weird.
for banning everybody,
Right.
but we want you to know.
By the way, nobody got banned for questioning this or asking. Everybody got banned for insisting that it was intentional.
The ban still goes for everybody but us because we have very low confidence.
Right.
New significant information, very low confidence.
And I would say that was probably our position in April 2020.
Yes.
It looks kind of like it came from here. I would say it's likely, but we have low confidence. We don't know enough
and we have low confidence without.
Which is also bullshit. For the record, if you guys will recall, when I first started this show, we were seeing shows like this. I was mostly focusing on like Trump's briefings and that kind of shit. But none of them were acting like they had low confidence. They were all screaming to the high heavens that it came from there and it was intentional. And they, by the way, Beck and Stu, but basically all of right-wing media.
Significant information.
Hey, and then you get the information
right.
over
if it's
multiple
significant,
years, and you think to yourself, maybe we have high confidence.
Right. Moderate confidence.
Right.
Hold on one second. And I know, I'm dragging the show out as you do. And, okay, hold on. COVID 2020. So I'm trying to find in here. Maybe in here. It's 2 years ago.
I walked into the research room where everybody is at home now doing the research, and I looked at a chalkboard that I haven't seen in 5 months. And about a year and a half ago, how long have we been in this studio? Because we've been in here for at least a year with that set over there, because we were in the other.
Oh yeah, this is before he broomed this fucker, gave him his own show, but kept him off the show because he kept like barking and interrupting.
Set on stage 3, and I don't know if I think I probably told Pat. It came to me in a moment of. They fleshed it out, and I put it up on the board, and I said, these are the things to watch for. And I put them all down and fleshed them out on the board, so it was like 8 different topics, 10 different topics.
And I'm sure he's going to show us a picture of these predictions so that we know. No?
And I said, watch these topics. This is the most important thing
There'll be stuff happening in energy and disease and China. Also, my shoes will not fit right.
Because when we start to see these things go awry,
this is the end times. These are the ends of the times.
We're in trouble.
Yes, so get in the bunker and shut the door behind you. Start eating your beans and farting up a storm because you're going to need the energy.
And when I left here 5 months ago, there really wasn't any check mark on that board. And I posted it last night, and if you look at the white X's, those are check marks on it's happening now.
Oh, you mean, so you came into the studio and you wrote some stuff that was going on right now, and you put little boxes next to them, and then you checked them all off, and then we're supposed to believe that list that existed there, and then you went, oh my God, what are the odds? Instead of you just... Look, I guessed all the lottery numbers. You can look because the lottery happened last night. And look, I put a check. There they are. And I checked them off like, oh, I predicted them. When was that written? Weeks ago. Did you post a picture of it weeks ago? No, I was doing a thing. I was too busy being full of shit.
I came in this morning and I boiled all of those things down to 4 things. And
because the other 8 were like iffy and bullshit anyways.
We talked about them before.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, this is how we get to the
Armageddon.
End of America.
The end of America. This is 2 years ago, by the way.
These are the things that you're going to need to watch for.
Okay, watch for this, for the end of America. Let's see. And they've already happened, so They all happened 2 years
The
ago.
first one was polarization and civil unrest.
Yes, that would be necessary, but we've had polarization and civil unrest at many times in our history. We had a civil war. If you'll remember the civil rights era, that was pretty rough as well, but managed to squeak on through. It's interesting. It would have to, obviously, where would it have to be on the needle, just in general? These are just chapters. Okay.
Critical stage, 1930s European levels, left, right, Nazi, Antifa, communist Islamist riots in the streets.
Yeah, and oh my God. 2 years ago to this very day, when this video was made, it all happened and America ended. Well, not all of America, just Portland. Rip Portland. Hashtag Rip Portland. The kidney.
Huh.
And as sure as fuck, America's just gone. All right.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we've seen none of that.
None of that.
Yeah.
So
that
This is the dude you want sitting in the studio. It's kind of, he's like, you can tell he's like Glenn Beck's anchor. When Glenn's afraid that he's going to go too far down Cuckoo Road, Pat's there to drag him back to Sanity Town.
That's box. Would you check box number 1?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. If this goes on for another 2 years and keeps going, and triples.
Box number 2, economic destabilization, critical stage.
Now we're fine. I would not check that one.
Yeah. Bank and central bank failures, stock market plunge, which has gone the other way, price collapse, which is coming.
Yeah, by the way, remember price collapse, guys? Remember when the prices of everything collapsed? Remember that? I love 2-year-old fucking predictions. This is sweet.
But I would check most of that, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, it's done. We don't even have an economy now. Oh, now there is that one thing that I saw on Axios that today that might, I don't know, it might complicate your theory in this a little bit. As far as economic collapse goes, I'm gonna this is obviously a problem when you're talking about collapse. Now, it could be that America is just doing a little bit of retail therapy to stave off what they know is inevitable and it's on its way. Doom diddy doom doom. But it's this, if you look at this from 2019, this is, I'm just saying that's the last year of the Trump administration. Just saying. And there's this rumpity bump right here is the beginning of Biden. Here's 2021. Look at this. Look at America's consumption spending. Here's guess when Biden gets inaugurated. Guess where that is. Whank. Soon as that January 6th shit was over, America was like, let's get back at it. You could literally patch this fucking hole straight through there. There you go. It's a little, yeah, it's a straight trajectory. Absolutely. Some ruffles as it goes up and then it dunks back down and it's going back up again, but it's definitely smooth this out over time. Here's a hint why inflation remained stubbornly high in January. American spending accelerated after a few months of trending down. Driving the news, personal consumption expenditure data on Friday shows that even after adjusting for inflation, spending rose 1.1% in January from the month before. Fucking Americans. Why can't you assholes get broke and stay that way?
Oh, yeah.
Economic destabilization is at least
we've been destabilized.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a constant. At a certain point, though, if we've been destabilized, then aren't we always unstable? Therefore, instability is the new stability. I'll let you think on that for a half an hour. You know what I mean? Because at one point, if everybody's crazy, maybe the sane person is the problem. All right.
No doubt about it. It's just been it's been propped up, but obviously the stabilization is not something anyone would argue over.
Right. Okay. So we're half.
Yeah, nobody would argue that. No, stabilization. Obviously, we're cadavering. End of story. I mean, America's done. Right. Okay. 2 years ago, but whatever.
Halfway through the four things. Tech disruption.
Tech disruption.
Critical stage. Jobs being displaced because of technology.
Uh-oh. ChatGPT. He wasn't even thinking about this. We're going to lose our jobs because Starbucks is becoming a vending machine with a drive-through.
Jobs, finance, communication, and privacy.
Well, in his defense, Parler was hacked and 70 terabytes of right-wingers' data was dumped onto the internet because they were only using the demo version of their security software. But in general...
So what?
I mean, listen to the James Altucher thing that we talked about earlier today, where these companies are going to use COVID as this opportunity, to
cut all these
not
things.
in a nefarious way, but like they naturally had to send people home, and then they all kind of realized,
we don't need it.
Just have them stay home. I mean, the internet's working fine. We're doing these meetings. I haven't been in maybe every once in a while, but that's about it.
So his big concern and his proof that the financial system in America is destabilizing is because commercial real estate might not recover.
What happens to the commercial real estate market?
Oh my God! What did I say? What did I like? Is that easy? Is that like this is fucking? It's almost like he said this 2 years ago. All right,
market when that.
I did not watch this at the time, by the way. I don't have this memorized, or do I? The kidney.
What happens to privacy?
Yeah. I was. You know what? I had my penis out in the lobby a couple of minutes ago, and it occurred to me.
Because of COVID.
Yeah.
Look at how we're being
contact
tracked.
tracing, all of that.
All
kind
of that stuff. Communicate.
Yeah. And everybody's tracked nowadays. Ever since COVID. I mean, I don't know about you, but everywhere I go, fucking vaccine passport. I gotta show them. I've got to scan green everywhere I go. Oh no, that's China, and that's not happening here.
Communication. The election.
You couldn't have maybe lit the fucking blackboard. That didn't occur to you. You didn't put a little soft lamp on. That didn't. No. In your multi-million-dollar studio. It's not like I, for example, wouldn't. With my little podunk setup, couldn't figure out that you might not be able to read that on camera.
That's all coming to play.
Oh my God, the fourth one is New World Order.
So that's tech disruption. Would you check that box?
Oh yeah, I totally. Tech disruption, which means what again?
Oh yeah,
I would.
Oh yeah, yeah, boss, absolutely. Whatever you say. Yeah. You're asking me, the guy in the second mic, or me, the guy in the third mic that works for you and has to make you look like you know what the fuck you're talking about, even when you're jibber jabbering relentlessly about topics you know fuck all about.
Number 4. Probably won't check this box though. Trust implosion.
Trust implosion. Oh yes. Well, I have to say that happened with me and Glenn Beck. From the jump a long time ago.
Critical stage. Trust lost with government, media, tech, finance, justice, corporations, and EDU.
Ta-da! You didn't even include like institutions like the police.
Right.
Which,
right.
Half the country now no longer thinks should even be exist.
I would.
And that would be you guys who want to get rid of the FBI, I suppose?
Absolutely check all 4 of those boxes.
All 4 of those.
Well, of course you would, Pat. You're a sycophant and a lunatic.
Those boxes.
We're there.
The only thing that is left.
And by the way, the last one is New World Order.
Is when all 4, well, I said a year ago or a year and a half ago, when all 4 of those boxes are checked, then you're ready for the New World Order.
What the fuck have we been waiting for then? Son of a bitch. The New World Order is late? This was 2 fucking years ago. Somebody get the New World Order on the phone. Son of a bitch. Wait 1 second. By the way, these guys have not particularly aged well. Hold on. Damn it. Get it out there. Well, I've got a special phone where I can. Excuse me. All right, 1 second. Hold on. Okay, 1 second. If you, hold on 1 second. Hello. Illuminati headquarters. Yeah, just motherfucker. They've automated everything. Why are they asking me for the last 4 digits of my social? They don't fucking know. Okay. HAL Sparks. New World Order. Date of execute. Shit, it sent me back to the first menu. God damn it. I'll just push operate. Hi, who is this? Carol? Hey, Carol. Yeah, it's Hal. I was just wondering. No. Yeah, it's good to see you too. And your potato salad is fucking magic. I would just like to say that everybody thought so at the last. At the last gathering, it was great. Whatever. And to do it out in the open like that, I thought it was hilarious. Everybody thought we were just a little church group. Anyways, I just wanted to ask you. I'm watching. Oh, yeah, you know what I'm watching. Sorry. Yeah, the Glenn Beck clip. The old one. Yeah, 2 years ago. Right. Were you just thinking the same thing? I know. I was like, right, they checked all 4 and still no, there's a pause on it. Waiting for funding. Huh. Oh, because, right. Because we use the currency of the galactic lizard people. Right. And it's an issue with the exchange rate. I get it. Okay. Well, that makes sense. I'll tell everybody. Yeah, thank you. And yeah, Glenn will be. Well, you know what? Can you, I mean, I know I'm not supposed to do this. And I promise I'm not on the air. But can you guys just send one of those pulses to his implant that makes him have another brilliant idea? Yeah, one of the really funny ones. Cool. Okay. Anyways, you too. Absolutely. I gotta ask, is it cumin in that? Paprika. That makes sense. It makes all the difference in potato salad. You're absolutely right. Okay. Anyways, have a great 37-day week. And sneak Nortbot. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Happy Adrenochrome Day. Okay, bye. So obviously it's very complicated. But the New York, in a nutshell, the New World Order is running late.
I just got the name wrong. It's called the Great Reset.
Oh, I see. That was from the other clip of him saying the New World Order is the Great Reset. That's when he decided on the name of his book, or he took it from. Yeah.
But it's very low, which means they could change it at any time. They could say, you know what, new information now.
I would like to say for the record that it's good. It's nice to know that since COVID, Stu and Glenn have not missed a single dessert. I mean, if you're coming near the end of the world, I say fuck it, throw caution to the wind. So why not?
New information, and even more significant than the significant information that had us go from no confidence to low confidence.
Right.
Okay?
It's like, I know why I'm overweight, right?
Yeah.
And
do you though? The
reason I'm overweight is because I eat too much crap too often.
Correct.
I have
and it's Glenn's fault.
High confidence in
right.
that. Is it possible I have a glandular issue? Me? I guess it's possible.
It is.
Right, it could be.
Very low
possibility.
Yeah,
It could also be that your glandular issue is caused by the crap you eat. I know.
Unlikely.
Complicated thought.
But I'm highly confident that it's the amount of Taco Bell drive-thru stops that I make in a given week that make.
Notice he didn't bring up Sonic because they don't want to lose their their discount at the drive-thru.
Makes me overweight.
But if a doctor came to you and said,
you've got a glandular issue, I might say, well, I need to look at the evidence of that.
Right.
I'm interested in
thank
this.
God Taco Bell can survive. Okay. So now why would this come out? Now, I'm not saying that this is it, but I'm not saying
Wait, how much?
Oh, fuck off. This is again. This is what this checks the final box.
I want every statement you make on this program now to be followed by a level of confidence.
Okay. My level of confidence on this one is almost biblical. Okay.
Maybe literally.
So it's all based on faith and not knowledge. See what I did there? Ha! Thank you very much. I like to think things through.
Biblical.
Yeah, I mean, I take the scriptures, and then I come down a little bit,
right?
And that's where I'm at.
Okay, got
so
it.
low confidence.
Low confidence.
So there's a couple of things in the news, completely unrelated.
Oh, I see. So this is where he takes other things, ties them to it, and says, "This is my justification for." Because there was the Turkish earthquake or some shit.
China.
The earthquake in Turkey. Obviously, it's nothing Turkish about the earthquake.
Is cozying up to Russia. And they've offered a peace deal. And they're also talking about sending drones and also ammunition to Russia. I learned that over the weekend.
Did you? Where'd you learn that? You learned that from Anthony Blinken. You learned that from the U.S. State Department, who had a suspicion that they were going to do it, which China denied, and Biden followed up by going, "I think the chances of it are very low at this point, even if they were thinking about it temporarily," and them not doing it.
Oh, and did you see the fighter jet that was over the South China Sea that was shadowing like 20 feet away from ours, becoming very aggressive? Not really done before.
That's because our fighter jet was in an area it hadn't been before.
Yeah.
So what?
Boy, it's a good thing that we're not mad at them for other things. You know what I mean? Sure, we're upset at them about that, but they have proven to be good, strong allies of ours and good, helpful friends, and of course didn't have anything to do with the pandemic that killed millions of... Oh, wait a minute. I've just gotten hang on. New significant information. Holy cow. With this new significant information, I can no longer say they've been good allies of ours. They may be an enemy of not.
Gee, so we're supposed... I genuinely am confused by this because... he's believed this, and Trump has said he's believed this, except when he hasn't, since Trump left office anyways. And adults going, all right, before we specifically pick a fight with a group of people, we should probably know if they did what we think they did.
Not just us, but the whole world. Because they leaked, accidentally, we think, but we could get another very specific...
All right, so this is the U.S. is engaged in anti-China propaganda because they need to create a COVID false flag to give them the ability to attack China over Taiwan as the predicate for a war. Which, by the way, Glenn and everybody on his side actually thinks already happened, and therefore wouldn't be a false flag. It would be an iteration of what they actually believe. And so it would be the first false flag that's based on hiding the truth and then revealing it, telling people we were actually attacked. Like if the U.S. government had responded to 9/11 by putting up 2 giant faux World Trade Centers and hiding the fact that they had been attacked, until we decided we wanted to attack Al Qaeda, and then we would take down the screens and go, they were knocked down years ago, a couple years, 1992 or 2002. We're gonna obviously look what they did. We didn't know, so now we can bomb them. Yeah, I know. It's stupid.
And very, very important update at any minute. They may have had a lab leak that caused millions of people to die. So they're not very good. They're not good people.
Which, again, kind of confusing in the context of the idea that the president is beholden to them in any way.
And we had to be dragged to that conclusion. Boy, we didn't want to say that about the Chinese, because we
Freudian
like the Chinese and they're so good. And gosh darn it, we didn't want to have to come to that conclusion. And now we're dealing with the airplane. I don't know if we can trust them. They might become an enemy of ours. Well, really, the enemy of mankind, because have you heard about the lab leak? Completely unrelated. And
all right, look, first of all, never mind the fact that this is a fucking child. Like, look at the level of logic and mixed with paranoia, mixed with, I guess, an attempt at humor and generalized gibberish that is going on in this small pseudo play that he's doing for his listeners over the air, that at some point has to come around to the idea, I suppose, logically, if we're following as best we can, that Glenn Beck is slowly but surely coming around to the realization that the idea that Biden is beholden to China is bullshit and that there might be a greater strategy here. And he's finding himself on the side of defending not only China, but Trump's relationship with China.
It's just a giant coincidence that after 3 years, within the 2-week period where China is giving us trouble.
What do you... In the 2 weeks, motherfucker, where were you when Nancy Pelosi went to Taiwan? What about the beginning of the AUKUS agreements where they were doing Operation Fish Kill, as the guys on China Show likes to call it?
All of a sudden, we come to the conclusion.
Why is this all of the sudden? It's been fucking 2 years of this shit.
That they may have leaked the coronavirus.
And by the way, we being the Department of Energy with low confidence. Fuck, this is tiresome.
COVID could have come from them. And by the way, we have no confidence that America was involved in that whatsoever. In fact,
involved in what?
All of the releases that we've released this weekend don't mention Anthony Fauci. Don't mention the labs here in America. The Bat Lady. What Bat Lady? We're not talking Batman, Robin, or the Batgirl. What are you talking about, Bat Lady? We have nothing to do with that.
By the way, the Bat Lady he's talking about is a female scientist in at the Wuhan lab in China.
China.
I see. Look at him. Look how smug he is. Right. How do you leak a hoax? It's always an issue. So not only did this motherfucker manage to wrap this entire conversation up in ultimately the U.S. government has decided that China did this, but according to, insofar as we can tell, because it's a lot of gibberish and it's a lot of double talk, and he doesn't know. He lost me several times. But it seems like Glenn Beck is arguing that the U.S. government planted the virus via Anthony Fauci and the Bat Lady, the woman who studied coronaviruses specifically in bats, where a lot of them originated in China. That this took place during the Trump administration. By the way, the president who refunded and allowed gain-of-function research to commence again after Obama had shut it down at the Wuhan lab, that during the Trump administration, the U.S. government planted or participated in the release or the construction of COVID and let it out while Trump was president. Yes, and by the way, largely because yes, Trump had also gotten rid of the team, the pandemic response team. I gotta say, like, fucking, it's a mess. This whole conversation, I don't even know which side of it ethically he even wants to be true.
Now,
yeah, he doesn't even know what he just said.
I just might be a little cynical. Yeah, people might say, Glenn, what, you have no faith? You have no trust? I mean, in the full faith and credit of the United States of America? No, I don't have any.
Yeah, you do. That's a lie. Yes, you do. You have... this motherfucker flies in an airplane over U.S. airspace and in other parts of the world in a system guided by the FAA, a bureaucratic organization that does not change its leadership every time a new president comes in. It's a constant. It's part of the deep state. The FAA would be part of the deep state that he relies on. He also, when he's driving on the highway system throughout any state that he might be in, he doesn't think that... he didn't think for a second that the road ends over the next horizon, over the next hill. That if he comes to a hill, it's just going to crevice off and the road's just broken and he has to constantly live in fear. He constantly trusts the government. He's on fucking autopilot. This motherfucker, and Stu just said this, the two of them eat at Taco Bell all the fucking time. They eat Sonic all the fucking time. And without the regulations put forward by the U.S. government, they would be eating salmonella fucking tacos twice a week. They'd be dead by now. They're only able to be unhealthy because of their own choices, because the federal government spends an inordinate amount of taxpayer dollars and time and energy and scientific study making impalatable food safe to consume. Yeah. The U.S. government, because the American consumer wants it, spends a shit ton of your money, whether you eat that way or not, making sure that fast food won't kill you quickly. That at least, if at some point you choose to wean yourself off of fucking garbage, you have the time and the ability to do so. It's just the same thing that brought you lower tar cigarettes. Look, these motherfuckers aren't going to quit, but if we can get most of the tar out of these fucking things, we can at least extend the off-ramp. The number of exits on Death Highway that they pass before it's your ass. All of these assholes trust the government nonstop. I fucking hate this garbage.
Nope. Not since they banned everyone from saying this.
They didn't ban everyone from saying that.
With all the evidence that we produced, 2 years ago.
You mean none?
Not with all of the questioning. No,
nobody got banned for questioning. Another lie.
Not with everybody being run out into the streets. Burn them. They're a witch for even suggesting, even saying Wuhan.
Yeah, that didn't happen either. I saw multiple conversations where people said Wuhan, even suggesting the lab leak theory might be a possibility. None of them got even pilloried.
Don't call this the Chinese virus. How dare you?
Well, because Chinese is an ethnicity as well as a nationality. And therein lies the rub. See, Americans, we're in a special position because America doesn't show up on anybody's 23andMe yet. It might centuries from now because you can use it as a pivot point for where people came from as far as haplogroups or whatever come through. I almost said haptic, which is a suit you need to have for VR to be really, really delicious. But insofar as ethnically uniform countries. It's hard to say in China because there's a lot of different tribes, but the Han Chinese being the enormous part of the population now, and not an accident, that it's Chinese in terms of a governmental system, but not Chinese in terms of an ethnic system where American people who are ethnically Chinese, who are 100% Americans, have no fucking responsibility for any of this shit. That's why. And it's because the Chinese government, the CCP, uses that fact, uses that bifurcated meaning of Chinese to say that anyone who attacks what they're doing, what the CCP was doing in hiding the origins of COVID and letting their own doctor die, who, telling him to shut up about it when it first broke, that if you criticize those things, you're criticizing Chinese people. And the reason they have some ammo in that conversation where they're allowed, you can't argue that Chinese and Asian Americans who, because again, people not making the distinction, have blamed them for the disease or continue to do so. The reason the Chinese have, they can use that as a wedge is because it is made true by fuckers like this.
No, I'm just a little
stupid.
Skeptical.
No, you're not. You're a professional cynic, but you're also a fraud, a liar, a fraud, a fraud
of the press, who's not banning the Department of Energy.
Yeah, that's because the Department of Energy did not announce this. A member of Congress, most likely a Republican, took something that was a low-confidence part of a classified briefing from the Department of Energy where they presented some information that they had that they believed was strong, but the sourcing of it was questionable, so much so that the intelligence community said it doesn't line up with the information that they're having, so it won't change their position on any of this. They didn't announce this, and this is part of this is the baseline lie of this whole thing. And Junior did the same shit. Nobody announced this. This is from a news report that somebody read a classified briefing. This was an eyes-only classified briefing that they gave, a classified document. It was never meant to be an announcement. And so the idea that the announcement is meant to be manipulative, you have to go to, well, then who released this classified document or talked about it secretly? And at this point, we know it was a Republican House member. We just don't know which one. So if anybody has an agenda, the theory would be it would be that Republican member of the House. So why would they do it all of a sudden?
Probably because they have low confidence. Even though we had all the documents and had high confidence, and anybody who would look at the documents would go, that's pretty, I can understand. But
what documents would those be?
I think you should have higher than high confidence.
And by the way, I honestly don't know what he means by documents. Is he talking about emails that were allegedly between Fauci and Daszak and that crowd? Is he talking about documents that he's somehow seen from Wuhan? Is he saying specifically that because they were doing gain of function there, that automatically that means this version of COVID that broke loose is part of that work?
No,
he's not, because he can't.
We were enemies of the state.
No, you weren't. You're still alive. You're still chubby. You still haven't missed a dessert in the history of this fucking show.
But now, Biden administration has been given some new information. China might be an enemy of ours. I'm just saying. And I'd hate to have to unleash an economic barrier against China. That'd be bad for us, but it'd be the right thing to do. Be bad for us, bad for them, but it'd be the right thing to do.
I don't know. Do you understand what his complaint is here? Because I think he's for this, but he's worried that because Biden is doing it, he will lose a talking point.
Gosh, if we could just find our way to not doing that, I wonder what China could do. What? Hey, by the way, did you notice we're really upset about all the arms and stuff that they're talking about sending to Russia? hey, I wonder if we could drop our investigation if they would drop their support, with ammunition and stuff.
Oh, I see. So this is the theory. This is what it all comes to, is that the Biden administration is threatening to release more information he has no idea exists, but assumes does, but he's already read it, but the Department of Energy. The Department of Energy will drop its investigation, which, by the way, it already completed, if China doesn't give arms to Russia. Why would we need that? Aren't the economic sanctions? Biden has already said that if China gives arms to Russia, the same economic sanctions that would be put on any country that traded arms with Russia go into effect. Period. End of story. He's already said it. The fuck does this have to do with anything? It's an unnecessary. What are they worried about? They're already denying that it came from there anyways. What do you think they're going to do? Not cooperate more? Cooperate less than none? Good Lord, this is stupid.
Maybe we could both back away and go, I see nothing.
It's adorable. So this dickhead thinks he's discovered I guess, a conspiracy to end a Mexican standoff over, I guess, while the U.S. Okay, so Mexican standoff. Both China, we both have guns, and China's going to hand one of its guns to Russia, is the theory, and the other gun is not being honest about the origin of COVID. That's the other gun. And the U.S. has two guns, one economic and one militaristic. The militaristic one is in its left hand because it never expects to use it. But the economic sanctions, only this one will get used, and it only gets used if they give their gun to Russia in this Mexican standoff. So if China says we're giving weapons, or they try to give weapons and we find out, then we hit them with sanctions. Meanwhile, this one's still loaded and pointing at them. But the idea is that China is giving one of their guns away and laying the other one on the table, and America is the weakling because we're just going to decide to walk away. I don't even know. I'm trying to build an analogy that makes any fucking sense on this gibberish. It's just stupid.
No, that's too cynical.
It's not cynical. It's dumb. For fuck's sake. Like, it's difficult. It's challenging even to imagine a dumber take on this than Glenn Beck's. I swear to God. Is there anywhere in chat room, did any of you, I am stunned. This is Bongino level stupid. One more, because I'm not going to be around tomorrow. You think one more? That's not a bad idea. One man talking gibberish isn't the problem. It's the folks who look at this and agree. Yeah, but I don't know that they do. I get it. I mean, I know where you're going with this. But the problem I have, I'm going to turn on my local there. The problem I have is that I just don't, I don't think anybody listening to this and even that's on his side. Like, God knows you and I don't understand what the fuck this guy's talking about, because it's absurd on its face. It's gibberish. But I have a feeling that even his most ardent followers listen to this and go, I am not sure. I think I smell almonds. I am so fucking dumb. I've gotten dumber watching this thing. This is, holy God, this is gibber. Is he okay? I'm worried about, like, there's literally somebody over their fucking potato salad going, I'm worried about Glenn. No, I listened to the whole thing and I was like, what? I was like, you could tell. Like, Stu is afraid for him. How is Glenn invested in China? Not that I know of. I think he's just stupid, and he's so invested in this end times jargon horseshit that that's the best chance he's got. And it's easier to fearmonger about China because they're not white. Yeah, tomorrow no show because I have sound check for the jam. All right, let me see. Hold on one second. There's a couple more things to cover. Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so since we're on an all stupid all the time Monday night show, since we've decided to dive in whole hog, up to our neck in swill like in Rambo 2, covered in leeches and in a pond full of pig shit, of idiocy, just hanging. Let's just go all in to the dumbest possible take on finance that exists. Ladies and gentlemen, Lauren Boebert, this is a way to tackle inflation. Now, I do think it's interesting that there's not a "the" there. That this belies a level of a lack of confidence in this case that is very telling. This is a way to tackle inflation. Not the way, because there is no the way. And she's already got a vein on her forehead, so there's pressure. And, well, let's just see. This is a way, and she's on Fox News. I don't even know what fucking show this is, honest to God. Oh, she's on Bongino. She's on Bongholio show, so this is going to be even dumber. So, meeting of the minds. Just when you thought Glenn Beck's take was the stupidest thing you have ever heard, along comes Lauren Boebert and Bongholio, and Lord Almighty, we get to hear their take on the solution to inflation. Let's hear it. Solve this shit for all of us.
Welcome back. If you believe the Democrats, the economy's doing just great. No.
Or if you look at the aggravated business folks at Axios who are concerned about the very same thing. And by the way, for the record, Democrats, nobody's saying the economy is doing just great, except for the caveat of compared to the rest of the world.
Sweat. But of course, like everything else, they say it's all a lie.
Yeah, everything's a lie. Yeah. So if everything is a lie, then what I'm saying is a lie. Therefore.
So we sent an unfiltered producer out in the real world to find some actual Americans who are paying every day for the mess Joe Biden caused with inflation.
And you can trust them to come back with somebody who doesn't think it's his fault and hasn't intentionally gone to places where they know they'll get the answer we want to hear. By the way, this segment, I'm going to guess, is, what's the word? Filtered.
Hi, have you been to the grocery store in the last week or so?
Yes, I have.
Yes, I have.
Noticed any change in the pricing of everything?
In front of Whole Foods. Have you noticed any changes in the pricing of... Man is standing in front of Whole Paycheck right as we speak.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it pricing keep growing?
Yes, I have noticed a change. Thank you, Boats G, and thank you, Carl, and thank you, Lori.
The price of eggs has gone up significantly.
Yeah, why?
Absolutely outrageous, especially when they used to be $1 a dozen.
Yeah, eggs. Okay, first of all, eggs. The price of eggs is not up because of inflation. It's not inflation. It's the fucking avian flu that we've culled fucking millions of birds. It takes time for chicks to grow into egg-laying hens again, and they're not going to do it while the disease is still circulating because they'll just fucking die.
Oh yeah, it's horrendous.
We actually purchased more chickens for more eggs.
Like, you'll know, like, hey, why don't I have as much money as I thought?
We cut back on the amount we purchased.
It's hard to manage.
It's getting out of hand.
What about the Inflation Reduction Act?
Can you fill me in?
No, I'm not too much in touch with that.
Has that affected your life at all?
Has the Inflation Reduction Act affected your life at all? especially the parts that haven't gone into effect yet because of when it was passed and when fiscal years start?
That started?
So we had to go back to what American used to be.
Eggs was $1.
Let's go back to what American used to be.
$1.99.
Oh, so I agree. We should all go back to before the avian flu. Wouldn't that be lovely?
Joining me now to react is Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. Congresswoman, the Inflation Reduction Act, did that actually reduce inflation, or did we miss something? And those people and the man on the street, did they miss it too?
No, I don't think they missed anything, Dan. In fact, I actually even got it wrong in the last Congress. I said the Inflation Reduction Act was more, in reality, the Inflation Expansion Act.
Oh my God, I never even thought about it. You should take, what you do is you take what it is and then you reverse it when you're saying it, and people can tell you're against it. That is so smart.
But then I started looking at it a little deeper, and truly it's the Green New Deal. That's all it was. And Americans are paying the price for it now because of these environmental extremists that were able to play Nancy Pelosi's con game with having a bill titled for one thing and then it actually doing something completely different. But Dan,
so avian flu was caused by windmills. Cool. I thought it just caused bird cancer. But
and Democrats do this all the time. They create a crisis with their failed policies. They address the symptoms.
You mean COVID or avian flu? I'm confused. Which one did we create and when?
At the taxpayers' expense, and then they claim victory. But in reality, it's...
So, okay, so this is our strategy as Democrats. I hope I'm following you, ma'am, if I may. Democrats create a problem, and then we create a solution to the problem, or we create something that will make the problem worse, but we name it after the solution to the problem, and then we just let it get worse and ride that to election victory.
Their policies that are creating all of these problems, and the American people are suffering, while all the people who created these problems in office are shouting for joy and
you're in office,
pretending like everything is really great. But there is a way to address inflation.
All right, here it is. A way. See it. I don't know. It says tackle. It says this is a way to tackle inflation. Maybe she doesn't want to use the word tackle because her husband takes his tackle out in bowling alleys in front of teenagers. Okay, so, all right.
And that's with energy, American energy. And that's why I introduced the American Energy Act, and it...
Which is the opposite of energy? I mean, that's how it
makes
works, right?
a more efficient process for drilling permits and prevents radical judges from inserting their political preferences into America's critical energy infrastructure. And this is the kind of thoughtful legislation that we need to get energy prices down, to get gas down, and to truly lower inflation. The only way that we can actually prosper is by...
Look, I understand. Look, there's a lot of ways, no matter what she says, there's a lot of ways to prosper. And
to truly lower inflation, the only way that we can actually prosper is...
Yeah, well, look, it's America. We have that entrepreneurial spirit. Entrepreneurial spirit. And if we want to prosper together, we can't prosper apart. And I think it's important that what we do is remove regulations from where people can drill. So if they want to drill near, I don't know, where most of America's drinking water comes from, or in areas where, agriculture, like cattle ranchers and that kind of stuff are downstream from there and might, poison the rivers and streams going their direction. That's a small price to pay for cheap eggs that glow in the dark.
Is by producing our resources that our country makes. And this is the kind of legislation.
We don't make oil or gas. It's in the ground. We take it out. We refine some of it. We don't make it. It's already made.
That Republicans promised we would put in place if we were given the House majority.
and you were only given a squeaky majority, so you're only able to put forward squeaky little bills.
Fully expect the American Energy Act to pass the House.
No.
And hopefully the senators can get on board, and maybe even Joe Biden, and we can actually start addressing inflation and all of these things that are causing Americans to suffer.
You mean the thing that's causing them to spend money hand over fist, that drives up personal spending through the? You mean that thing? That kind of suffering, that kind of like end of the country suffering. That's I understand.
Yeah, supply demand. I mean, we learned about.
Yeah, you learned about that supply demand. So who gives a shit if the demand isn't up? As a matter of fact, if it's going down, and it's a dead product over the long haul.
In third grade, Congresswoman, your comment.
Which is where he stopped learning. So that makes sense.
On Pete Buttigieg, I want to play this. He's probably the most hapless cabinet secretary we've had in the history of the United States.
Hapless. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's. I mean, I would just go straight with inarticulate since you're making shit up.
It's a man so in over.
He's also not the NTSB head, by the way. Both, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene and Boebert both sent a letter about the NTSB not acting fast enough and not recognizing that he's the transportation secretary and that he does not oversee the NTSB.
His head, it's embarrassing. He had a big gaffe when he showed up finally in East Palestine, Ohio this week, where he said this. Check this out.
Both information and misinformation injected into this situation, none of which is to the benefit of the community when it comes to that misinformation. So I lost my train of thought.
Somebody just goes, so did Norfolk something? Yeah.
Well, he lost.
Why is that a big gap? Why is that a huge gaffe? He made his point and he was done, effectively. There was no second answer.
His train of thought, Congresswoman, when he was talking about misinformation, because he spent the entire week misinforming the American people and blaming Donald Trump for a train derailment he had absolutely nothing to do with.
Oh, this is, by the way, this is their idea that they keep floating about because the axle overheated and melted, and it was a broken axle that the electronic braking rule would not have affected this particular train wreck. Okay, two things. One is the Obama rule that Trump overrode and got rid of involved the making states aware when chemical trains were going through the area so that preparations could be made or awareness could be made so that if they did have an emergency, like, hey, by the way, this thing passes along at this period, if there's any issues along the route that are difficult or that happen, or like a crash or derailment or any issues like that, we should be like, if they strike a car that's on a cross, on a railroad crossing, well, no, oh shit, that's a train full of bad stuff, right? They took that part out. The other thing too is that when the axle breaks down, the rest of the car's ability to brake and stop is incredibly meaningful. And a single hydraulic line running through the whole train, that if it breaks up, everything just goes into the next one, unless there's somebody at the back who can reverse engines and pull stuff away, which in this case doesn't happen. One would think that an electronic braking system that goes on a radio system all the way across the train would be able to, if parts of it start to go off the tracks, turn that on and brake the entire train to that point. Whereas you may have a couple of them still roll off the tracks in a problem area, it wouldn't just all clamor together because nothing is braking. So it's a lie. I'm just abundantly clear that the braking system would help in this situation. It wasn't the brakes that failed, it was the axle that failed, but a braking system that stops all the train cars where they are, as opposed to, at a primary point in the front, would benefit.
You can't make this stuff up, Dan.
Overall.
And he
Yes,
says
you
he
can.
lost his train of thought. Well, Americans are losing many things under his leadership as the
Like what?
The Secretary of Transportation. And I think he needs to watch more of Thomas the Engine to really understand how our infrastructure works. But wasn't Pete...
Thomas the Tank Engine is a British cartoon claymation show. Animation, physically animated show.
Buttigieg just saying that we have too many white male construction workers, and here he is dressed in cosplay as a white male construction worker.
What?
While President Trump was delivering real victories for the American people, providing the needs that they...
Oh, you mean when he pretended that, when you guys told, I don't know that he pretended. At one point he couldn't, when he admitted that he didn't bring the cleaning supplies and that the trucks were somebody else's and the water was from one of his properties, but it was trucked in. And again, bought with campaign funds. The entire event was paid for with campaign funds. The money to buy lunch at McDonald's for the fucking firemen and all that stuff. It didn't take him to a fancy dinner by the big fancy millionaire dude. He took him to a fast food restaurant and paid for it with campaign funds. That was a campaign event. That's what that was. And again, fine, knock yourself out. But she was one of the people who told everybody that, like, he brought cleaning supplies, that because tractor trailers, this one guy drove in this stuff with I think it was Cortex, gave the cleaning supplies. The guy who owned the tractor trailers, because they're tractor trailers, big rigs, somebody kept saying he brought tractors because they didn't understand the difference between tractors and trailers.
That they needed in that moment, in that time.
No, they needed it 2 weeks ago, I think.
Showing them love and showing America true leadership.
You can't make it up.
You are making it up.
Congresswoman Boebert, thanks a lot for your time.
They needed it right at that moment, and he acted on true leadership 19 days after it happened, after the EPA and the NTSB and the Department of Transportation and the Ohio Emergency Management Agency had been there from within 2 hours of the whole thing. Also, for the record, you guys remember? Hold on. You guys remember? A couple of things. Yeah, here you go. There you go. Amid attacks on Biden, Brett Baer notes Trump officials didn't visit train derailment sites either, even fatal ones. There was one where there were actually members of the of Congress, I think, on the train. And the only Republicans that were at that site ever were the ones that were on the train when it crashed. Fox News points out Trump officials never visited train derailment sites. Not once. Even when people died. We're on the ground within hours of derailment. It's exceedingly rare for Transportation Secretary to visit. Fox News, Britt Hume announced, added that Biden's trip to Ukraine is more than justified because it involves security of the U.S. Right. This is why they hate Fox right now. Is this in this one? You're going to play an ad for us? On demand. Oh, I see.
We're bringing thousands of bottles of water, Trump water, actually.
Oh, that's right.
Most of it. Some of it, we had to go to a much lesser quality water. You want to get those Trump bottles, I think, more than anybody else. But we're bringing a lot of water, thousands of bottles, and we have it in trucks, and we brought some on my plane today. But to that end, I'm pleased to announce that we've helped coordinate the delivery of the water.
By the way, he arrived with bottled water on the same day that DeWine and the local Ohio Emergency Management Agency guy and the local Ohio EPA was drinking water out of the tap to prove that it was safe.
And bottled water as well as the tractor trailers full of it. We have big tractor trailers full of water. I think you're going to have plenty of water for a long time, maybe.
The guy's just so gross. He really is. I mean, talking about Trump water, branded Trump water. And by the way,
everybody, it's funny watching everybody cop my style these days.
He's such a hypocrite, too, talking about attacking Joe Biden while Joe Biden is going, risking his life, fighting for Western democracy, something he doesn't give a damn about, something, when you have a guy that talks about suspending the
at one point. Waited to visit.
It's fair. That's accurate. And there and there's been a lot of criticism of the
criticism for his handling of the disaster. His spokesperson says he wanted to visit, so he waited to visit so it would not detract from emergency response efforts. While Trump was criticizing President Biden and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg for not visiting East Palestine yet, Fox News had this fact check last night. Take a look.
There is this political moment, and there's been a lot of criticism of the Transportation Secretary. Politico pointing out that Secretary Buttigieg will visit their Ohio crash tomorrow. Quote, he's also expected to meet with DOT officials who arrived on the ground within hours of the derailment. They point out it's exceedingly rare for a Transportation Secretary to visit the site of a train derailment, especially one that resulted in no fatalities. And the reason they're pointing that out, it's fair, that's accurate. And there were train derailments in the Trump administration that actually had fatalities that didn't have a visit by Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao.
The key thing always is what, if anything, is an administration obliged to do when something like this happens? And visits by officials are nice, but they're essentially political gestures. I mean, I don't think the administration's policy and actions toward East Palestine would be any different if more officials had gone there. The president's overseas. I completely reject the parallel that's been drawn between his going to Ukraine and not going so far, at least, to East Palestine. Let's remember this, Brett, about these issues. The federal government preeminently has the responsibility for our national defense. Now, he may ultimately go to East Palestine, and Pete Buttigieg probably would have done himself some good by going out there, and it might have made people feel better. But substantively, it doesn't make much difference.
You know,
precisely. It's all for show. And these motherfuckers, like, and again, he's just happy to have her on the show and yada yada, because it's always better for Republican hosts to have her on instead of Marge. These are your choices as far as the women that you can, because it's them or Harriet Hagman, and that's, dear God. But the idea that somehow it was a necessity, or that our government requires that kind of micromanagement, is indicative, by the way, of people who believe, in the Trump mythology, that somehow he was magically president and showed leadership just by showing up, even if it was ineffective and a waste of time, because they viewed it as like retail politics, and ultimately it was a campaign stop. It didn't change anything at all. And the greatest thing about this will be the U.S. government's constant work in East Palestine over the next year and a half, and Trump's absolute disregard for the fucking place. Like, I will be shocked if he even remembers to go through there during the campaign if he continues. Because why? Right? Especially if it's fixed. Especially if they've solved most of the problems and it wasn't because of him. I mean, he can come down there and say, they only came because I told them so. But those people have got to know, including the mayor and everybody else, if anybody asks them honestly, has the Department of Transportation been here since it started? Yes. Has the NTSB? Yes. Has the Ohio Emergency Management Agency? Yes. In lieu of FEMA, because the governor did not ask for federal assistance until 19 days after it happened? Yes. Like, it's stupid. But the reality on the ground is the work that will be done to salvage that town and protect them will all come from the federal government. It won't come from fucking bottles of water that Trump dropped off that most of them will keep as fucking souvenirs. That will be the most lasting impact, is that some of the people in this town who are big Trump fans will have bottles of his water on a shelf that they never open. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. If we do see him go through this town again in another year, there's somebody going, I still got the water you gave me. Obviously, then it wasn't needed then. So you were able to drink out of the tap is what you're telling me? Yep. It was totally safe. It was good. The government gave us some money and so we could do our own tests, and we did it and it was fine. We brought in 3 different people because they gave us more money than we needed. And the water's fine. Yep. Yeah, the initial death of birds and fish and shit like that was from the explosion itself and the chemicals that were released, like the cloud, immediately. And then after a while, it dissipated. And we had the dioxin levels tested in our soil and in the paint around our house, and it didn't turn out to be shit. That's how it works. Anyways, love you guys. I will see you on Wednesday morning. Again, I will stream parts of the sound check tomorrow if I can, and I will stream the songs that I do tomorrow as best I can, and I get to rest my voice. And I love you guys, and thanks so much. Philip Bittner will be joining me on Wednesday. He's doing just fine, insofar as I know. Kimberly Johnson will be on next Monday. Friday guest will be a surprise. Just saying. If you want us to have better guests, subscribe. Like, subscribe, support the show. Super chats help immensely, as do Venmos and Cash Apps. That's the Cash App right there. If you use Cash App, you can hit it. And Coretta, thank you again. And there was somebody else who was just asking me recently if I had gotten theirs, and I looked. I'm going to blitz on the name because I don't want to mess it up. To check. Where are you? Here you go. Where are these? Yes, Marcia, thank you so much. And Susan Morrison, thank you so much. Bonnie, Michelle, Diana, thank you. Rain Queen, thank you for your ongoing support there as well. And Susan, thank you again. Let's see. Yeah. Appreciate you guys a bunch. Yes. So thank you, Marcia. All's well. Bless you for that support. I really appreciate it. Karen, Robin, and Andrea, thank you so much for that too. I think I said thank you at the time, but if I didn't, I'm saying it again. Or if I did, I'm saying it again. And also, whoops, let me make sure. Quit it. I can type. There we go. Sarah, thank you so much. And Mindy, bless you. And oh, the Chandras, thank you so much. And there Abhinav Chandra, thank you so much. And I'm glad you're on your way to surgery for cancer. Oh my gosh. 3 days ago, I hope you got through the surgery okay. Bless you. We're thinking about you. Lovely. Hopefully the shirt brings you good luck, and we will get to perform for you sometime in the near future. Bless you. Margie, awesome. Frederick, thanks so much. Wendy as well. Allison, thank you for contributing to the Chud Fund, and Regina, Mark, Laura, again, and Templeton, merci beaucoup, de rien. Leslie, thank you guys for supporting Chud. Her little wrists are shaved, and what I'll do is, I'll tell you what, Wednesday, she's on the mend and she's moving around. So I'm going to, she doesn't quite make it downstairs to go to the ballet. I have to bring her down stuff. So she doesn't normally come in and meow, and then I take her upstairs like I normally do. She's getting back there, and at the very least, I can pick her up and carry her around a little bit. So Wednesday, guys, remind me, and I will bring Chud over and show her on camera, and you can see her little paws and her hair growing back, hopefully. It's still shaving right along here on both of her front paws and her one back paw. But yeah, anyways, adore you guys, love you, and I will see you on Wednesday. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. See you soon. And then tomorrow, again, no show, but I will be streaming elements of the jam and whatnot. Much love. And I'm on a flight at Butt in the morning and then back at Butt in the morning on Wednesday so that I can do the show from here, so that all that quality we've been working on to make sure that guests are good, that continues. Love you guys.